How's it going, everybody? I am Kyle from Fantasy Forward Studios, and we are back with session 16? Session 16 of Adventures in Middle-earth. I didn't change. It looks like we're just chatting today. Apparently, we're just chatting. Let me go. Oh, my God. I knew I forgot something. All right. D in D, or Dungeons and Dragons. But anyways, while I was setting that up, Dane, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your character?
Hey guys, welcome to Adventures in Middle-earth, Eriador Adventures. So we are we just got out of the thick of things, which is kind of nice. But I play the character Valineth. He is a high elf of Rivendell. He uses a longbow, his father's longbow from the Battle of the Last Alliance, which is pretty sweet. And he's a scholar, so he's kind of a healer-ish type of class. It's not super strong heals, but it's heals, which is very rare in this game. And he is jovial. He's not your typical movie Lord of the Rings brooding type of elf. He is a very written book jovial elf from the books. He likes to huzzah. He loves his friends, and he loves his mom and his dad.
He's a mama's boy.
Yeah. And
Any
he
any
just hit level 5.
Yes.
He
So
hit level
any
5.
improved things of him after a level up?
So Valineth got very lucky, and he rolled max hit points. So he went from 27 to 33 on that whole solid 6 extra hit points. But it makes a difference for him because he's kind of squishy. He's only got 15 armor class. But he's got 33 HP now, which is really good at level 5. And he learned a new skill, which I can kind of give in brief. It's called Web of Deceit, which is kind of cool. But basically, long story short, I have to make a roll, an insight roll against another character's insight, and with a 15 plus their modifier, and I can get a inspiration dice when talking to them if I pass in it. So basically, I can impress with some sort of knowledge by being very insightful and seeing them and looking at them and gaining insight from them, and I can use that to deceive them to get whatever information I want out of it, which is kind of cool. So I'm curious who I'll use it against, because it's still kind of a high threshold, but I don't think there's a limit on it, so I think I can pretty much use it with everyone if I wanted to. Yeah, at the start of any interaction, which is kind of cool. So I could do it as much as I want, see if it works, see if it doesn't. So
You're gonna have to remind me of that when the opportunity does come. You're like, I
yeah,
want to use that, just
it's
so I
always a
know how
yeah,
to
it's always a
roleplay it.
DC 15 plus the wisdom modifier of whatever character you're using.
Okay.
So I might fail it a lot, but there's no
Like
bad
limit to it.
yeah, well, there's no limit to it, but there's no, like, if I fail it, there's nothing bad that happens from it. It's basically like I can't get any extra insight by looking at the person, is what it says.
That
So
makes sense. Nice.
yeah, but it's cool. So we learned that. So hopefully we can get some more extra goodies of information from that. But yeah, that's all he learned. He didn't get any extra actions or abilities, or not abilities, but additions to scores or anything like that. But I still think he's pretty cool. I'm just happy he rolled his HP so high. So
Yeah, that max hit points makes a big difference. Because Theodric's done it like twice, right?
Yes, Theodric has been pretty unsuccessful with his HP rolls. Well, he was at the start. They weren't
Yeah.
great. But my last 2 rolls have been very good for my hit points. So,
Speaking of which, let's have Theodric introduce himself.
Uh, hello everybody. I'm that tubby Australian. I play Theodric Grimborn. He is a Slayer of Rohan. Specifically, and ironically, the non-mounted combat kind. Which, a bit strange for a rider of Rohan to not take the mounted option, but that's kind of what I went with. I also leveled up, and I didn't get anything too crazy with this level up, but I got something really cool. I got an additional attack per action, so I've now got like the double attacks like a fighter does,
Hey,
and I got an
that's
extra
crazy,
10
though.
feet of movement. Extra 10 feet of movement.
Both
and an
of
extra
those are
attack.
like big, just like flat
Right?
improvements. So
Right? Like, they're not crazy, but they're really good.
yeah.
Like, I'll take something simple and awesome like that over some crazy ability that only activates once in a blue moon. You know? So I'm pretty stoked with that.
Heck yeah. I love it.
But yeah, Theodric's just traveling around with Barada Rock. He's happy to be with a new group, finding new stuff to do, and he's just trying to sharpen his skills and just get better,
He's
Get
happy
good
to be
scrub.
alive.
get good, happy to be alive, sharpen his skills, learn how to control his blood rage, become
Good
a
stuff.
better warrior, that kind of thing.
Good stuff.
No, just another Tuesday for Theodric. It's all good. I guess technically Wednesday for us, but
Kinda.
but we have Kieran. So Cole did actually text, and he said he will be jumping on pretty soon here. So when he gets here, because it is a fellowship phase, we'll just introduce him when he does come in. But we can introduce the DMPC of the party, which is Caleb here. So he is the captain of the Silver Swan Court. He is a man of Gondor, hailing from the far south region, specifically in the city of Dol Amroth, and he is. He's a captain. And so, like, the different classes that are in AME are, like, loosely based off of, like, classes that actually exist within D&D 5e. His is technically tied to the fighter, but it's more of, like, it's, like, a less offensive and more of, like, a defensive type of fighter. Similar to Theodric on his upgrade. So currently he's at 39 hit points. And he has 2 attacks, so he got a second attack action, and then he also got what was it called? Action surge. And so he was able to, now he can, and sometimes, like, some of the abilities that are kept between the crossovers, sometimes you get them at like higher levels. I know, like, action surge, I don't know if that's a level 1 thing for a fighter, but at level 5 you unlock it in AME. It makes it so that the characters aren't quite as overpowered, and it makes kind of like the leveling. I don't know. Like, it feels great when you get that. So now, Caleb here has the ability to make 4 attacks 1 time per short rest if he wants to. So that's pretty cool.
Good.
I'm trying to think anything else, or he could just use the extra action to do something else, which is also cool. That he can do. Anything else for him? He is in Eriador because his ship got caught in a hurricane and marooned him. And one thing led to another, and now he is with the company. And he has just investigated all the stuff that went down at the Broadcleave and is now back in Rivendell. And he is pooped. He just did not like the forced march through the hill country of the Troll Shaws. It was not a good time for him. But I can introduce myself. I am Kyle. I am the lore master here. I am playing both with and against these players as they make their mark in Middle-earth, especially in the years leading up to the War of the Ring. AME, this is Eriador Adventures. It does take place between, so I believe right now it's 7 years after the desolation of Smaug and the fall of him, and the Battle of the 5 Armies, and there has been peace, relative peace, but now shadow's starting to creep back into the dark corners of the world, and has begun to show its ugly face. And these adventurers are trying to help drive that darkness back, if it's only for a year, 2 years, or all the way for forever. So they're doing a great job, and I'm very excited to see where this takes them, which means that we can jump into a little bit of our recap. So they just finished their very first adventure. So in Adventures in Middle-earth, Eriador Adventures, the company, what essentially that they're tasked with by Lord Elrond is discovering what shadow has been creeping within Eriador, specifically a captain by the name of Mormog. And as the company found out, he's an Ulag High from the Blacklands of Mordor. And he has made his way to Eriador to unite the evil creatures, as they saw at the Broadcleave, trolls and wicked men alike, to be able, and I guess orcs and goblins, to create underground passageways in order to essentially invade Eriador and move about without fear of the sun. So most trolls and orcs in the world of Lord of the Rings, they like for example, stone trolls will just turn to stone if they are in the sunlight. But like orcs and goblins and many troll species, they just get basically severely downgraded in power if they are in the sunlight. And so this is their way to be able to move about in safety and hidden, so that their plans can unfold. And yeah, they met a ghost lady. They met they journeyed with Elro here, a few dwarves. And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff kind of lurking beneath the surface, no pun intended, for them to be able to discover, figure out, and they have a bunch of cool new items that they got from the last adventure and secrets to be able to perhaps dive into during this adventuring phase, or during this fellowship phase for the next adventuring phase. And with that, I'll turn it over. Did I see Cole pop up? Was that me, or am I crazy?
He's here. I got him.
His eye.
Hey,
I got him. I
Hey.
dragged him.
Now
Welcome in.
I'm
Welcome in.
enormous. Thank you. Sorry for being late. Work and traffic.
All good. It's all good.
So,
I'm editing you. Cool. So one thing that we're doing is as we're introducing our characters, but also if you have any new like fun things that your character got from leveling up, if you want to let us know with that. I don't know if you've had a chance to really look at that, but you did do your new HP, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So if you could at least tell us
did.
that. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
my HP is now at 42,
Oh,
which is an increase of 11.
thicker than me.
Pretty sure. Or 10. I don't know. But I rolled a 10. I think it's an increase of 11. Yeah, I rolled as high as I could have on the dice roll, so that felt good. Let's see. I got an extra attack. I know that for sure. And then another. We were mentioning like we get another specific
Like
area.
features?
Yeah, like Adventures in
Like
Middle Earth.
cultural trait?
What they're called? Yes.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided what that is yet.
So I was
But-
looking, and before stream we actually went into our character sheets, and if it says like on your character sheet, if there's like the like blue one that's next to it, that means you have, it's like blue or red, I don't remember. It tells you that you have an option to upgrade. If you don't have that, you don't get another one yet.
I see.
I
Yeah,
think it's
then I
at
don't.
certain levels, and I think it's like even levels, and so like 4, 6, and then like so on. With this one,
Okay.
you just get like whatever your character gets with an upgrade. Like for example, Caliphier got his extra attack, and then he also got action surge, things like that. So.
Nice.
If you have any extra things that like your character just gets from that, then other than the extra attack, then you
Yeah,
also
I
have
think
that,
mostly it's just extra attack right now.
which is pretty strong.
It's
as we
pretty
had just
sweet.
talked about. So
Yeah.
sweet, and I think you have now that you have 2 weapon fighting, you technically have 3 attacks, right?
Yeah, I have 2 main hand and then 1 offhand. So, unless I use a bow, and then I get
Yeah.
two attacks.
Did all 3 of you guys get an extra attack?
We're the martial
Yeah.
classes.
Yeah. Combat.
Just sitting pretty with my 1.
That's okay. You keep us alive and fill us with joy.
Dane, think of it this way though: we don't get an extra action; we just get an extra attack on our action. So
That's
like,
true.
as far as action economy goes, like if we use an attack, we have to use the other attack. I guess we don't have to,
True.
but
No, we have to.
we have to.
No other option.
No other option.
It's pretty good though.
But this, so this stream today is primarily going to be taking place in Rivendell. Before the stream, I talked to them about a few things that they can do, and each action that you can do. So it's going to be about a month here in Rivendell. So it's going to take them all the way through basically the month of June. And early July is at earliest when their next adventure is going to start. And a lot of that is dictated by the fact that Caliphier needs to rest after that escape. He got 4 points of exhaustion, and he needs to rest. Theodric got 2 points, and so he needs a little bit of rest. But yeah, with that, basically an action is 2 weeks, and what is constituted as an action is something that takes time to do. And so, like, for example, if you want to just go shopping, that doesn't count as one of the action. But if, for example, Cole, you want to get, like, something smithed or, like, an armor piece, like, improved or something like that, that would take one action. Something like that. So basically, just use your common sense. Like, if this action would take time to do, that would be considered an action. If it's just like, I want to go talk to Elrond, then that wouldn't really count as an action. So
Yeah, I gotcha.
with that, we can go ahead and jump right into. Well, Cole, introduce Kyrian and like who he is.
Of course. I play Kyrian, son of Durafin, who is always fashionably late. Just kidding.
No, he arrives precisely when he means to.
Yes, he's like a wizard in that way. And he is a Dunedain of the North, and one of the higher ranking ones at this time, as Arathorn is no longer, and Aragorn is not yet. So, yeah, so he goes around, keeps the peoples of Eriador safe from the shadow. He has taken an oath to protect the free and good peoples of Middle-earth, specifically Eriador, from the shadow, and to uproot all goings-on of shadow in Eriador. So that is kind of his mission and goal, to just root out all organized crime, basically, and not taking the credit, as the Dunedain operate in the shadows often. It's a thankless job. But yeah, that's Kyrian. He also is a ranger who excels in exploration and guiding those through certain areas, especially those that he is well known. And yeah, he also attacks with a sword and a dagger.
He's a cool
My
being.
question
Sometimes a
is,
bow.
how does he feel about seeing the killer of his fiance?
Oh, he's pretty
How's he
mad
feel
about that.
okay.
But also, I think he definitely is wanting to end that being from existing, and
That's a way to
and
word it, I suppose.
yeah, end his existence, and he's a troll, so he's a bad dude anyway. With no
Thank
chance
goodness
of
the
redemption.
internet doesn't exist today.
Yeah,
He'd be
exactly.
harassing the heck out of you.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he's a little shooketh, but not
You have my
so
soul.
shooketh that he has lost all sense of reason and tact. So, but yeah, he's that wasn't fun seeing him. That jerk of a troll. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
That was good.
That was good. But with that, you guys are tired. You are weary. I think Kyrian's probably less tired than everyone else. But now is your time for rest. And as the company follows the signs, walking through the hill land, the wilderness in the Misty Mountains, they eventually descend into the valley of Imladris, Rivendell. And immediately, and this is something that those who travel to and from Rivendell often, it's difficult to get used to, is the feeling that as soon as you step within inside the valley, like the wearies of the world seem to be lifted off of your shoulders. That your spirits are heightened, and a sense of foreboding that you had from your escape from the Broadcleave seems to all but vanish. Yes, you might be weary in bones and in leg, but your spirits are lifted, and you can think clearly. No longer is fear riddling yourselves, and you are appreciative of the people that are with you, the company that's with you, and most importantly, for another day here in Middle-earth. And as you descend down further, the group of you you can tell you've been through it. Well, Kyrian, maybe he's on his own 2 feet and he's doing well. Like the snow, basically the snow melts, the mud, the tatter of all of your gear is very evident as these grimy adventurers make their way into this immaculate valley. There are elves that come to your assistance. Particularly, there's a few of them that greet you, Theodric, and help you with Baradorok, taking him back to the stables and helping him get clean and everything like that. And Calafir, he's just like, it's all that he can do to just get himself from off the back of Baradorok, as he's just like barely able to keep up. Like his eyes are like half closed, and he's just like kind of like he needs like somebody's help in order to like walk, like almost like someone who's like gravely wounded, but it's more just exhaustion at this point. As you walk your way up the hill towards the Great Hall where Elrond is. What is your guys' immediate plans? I know we spoke a little bit about it at the end of last session. I know, Dane, you want to spend, Valineth wants to spend time with his mother and that kind of stuff. But right now, what is your guys' objective? With everything that you had experienced at the Broadcleave, do you want to rest first, talk later, talk now, do that kind of stuff? It's up to you.
I have a couple goals.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Should I go first then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Feel free.
First one, I would like to have dictated kind of to the best of Kyrian's ability what he remembers that was written on the stone that was destroyed. And disseminate that information to the Dunedain.
Okay.
Either through like couriers, messengers.
Valineth wrote it down. You gave him the story on the way there, so
Yeah, that's right.
there.
So basically just like getting that all out. And then I also kind of as part of that, like all in kind of the same letter, I suppose, warn the Dunedain of the gathering of the orcs and the trolls and their plans for the tunnels, and to instruct them to the best of their abilities to start seeking out and sabotaging or in some sense destroying or thwarting the work where and when they can safely. So that's kind of, I guess, the first thing he wants to do. That's kind of like sending that message. I don't know if there's a postal system here.
Yeah. I'm gonna have you make a traditions check for me.
All right.
Just give it to Beetleborough. He travels everywhere.
Yeah, he's good. He runs.
Traditions.
Also,
Ooh.
a little bit earlier when
That
you
was
said it's a tough job, all I can think of now is we can have a Nor detective spin-off starring Kyrian.
That's good.
Unnatural 20.
That's great. As you, this isn't your first rodeo. You're used to sending the letters and everything, and you have basically the Dunedain have a very tight-knit system, and it is very much connected to Rivendell as well of how to get information from place to place. Within the day, you're able to draft these letters. You're able to have Valineth create for you duplicate copies of pretty much word for word what this stone said, and you send them to 3 locations. And so if we pull up the map here, the main 3 locations of Eriador are Fornost. And so right now, people don't, other than the Dunedain, they just think it's a haunted ruin, essentially. But this is if you remember, the area that you, Kyrian, are kind of in charge of is the Fornost section of Eriador. The next one is the Angle. This one down here is often where kind of like the chieftain of the Dunedain used to sit, but where the currently right now kind of like the higher ups tends to meet, since there's no chieftain right now. And then the last one, the place that you're going to do, is the one here in the Coldfells, Trollshaw's Coldfells, where you were before. Just basically detailing what you experienced, that you're safe, you didn't return there, and don't go looking for you there, but that everything, and you basically just give them everything that they need to know. Is there anything specifically outside of the threats that you had that you also want to add to the letter, just so I can know of like what they know when they encounter you in the future?
Sure. I will include the locations from the map that we found in the keep
Yeah, the Broken Keep, the one here.
as places to start looking for those tunnel systems. And then I will also include Valinith was kind of making a map of the tunnel system in the one place we did already kind of scout out. So I don't know if I need to include that in all of them. Probably the one that is closest who would be able to handle and assess that location.
Right. So currently, right now, probably the one at the angle would be less, because if you remember, you had the gemstone that was here in the North Downs. You had one that was here at Mount Graham, one that was here at the Broadcleave, and then one that was at Cairn Doom in the north. So.
And then also, wasn't there something about Mount Graham that was like imminent? Like, isn't that where they're headed next?
That was where. So yeah, that's where they were heading next. Particularly, what Birder was charged with. Was the gathering of the orcs and trolls that are at Mount Graham.
Okay, yeah, then I will inform them all of that plan as well. Mostly to make them aware, but also like just to reassure them, like, scout it out, but don't do anything that would compromise your safety at this point, as we will need numbers likely for a coming battle. So it's like, do your best to sabotage and to hinder where and when you can do safely, but obviously, don't be stupid about it and get yourself killed. Kind of a deal.
Valinith is writing down word for word every word that's coming out of Kirian's mouth.
Don't be stupid.
Perfect.
Be a smarty.
Yeah.
Right next to humans or animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's
cool.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that you're going to do. Let's go ahead and jump to Valinith and Theodric. So first task, first order of business. Theodric, your first order of business, unless Valinith wants to do something about it, is rest.
Yes.
Seeing the state also that what's his name? Calafir is in. He's like, he's in no shape to even speak to Lord Elrond right now. And he's thinking to himself, and he's looking over his wounds, and they're more just exhaustion wounds, right?
Yeah.
From more than anything, he's just like, I don't know what I can do as far as helping out with this. And he thinks back, and he's gonna try to take. An idea comes to mind, and he's gonna actually take Calafir to what's his name again? The guy who's first command of in Rivendell, not Elrond, but his right hand man.
Oh, Lindir.
Not Lindir, the apothecary guy.
Oh, Aristor.
Aristor. He's gonna take him to Aristor. He's like, I think we need more practice hands for this, my friend. So that way, Valinith keeps his actions and just hands him off to Aristor to.
So as you make,
quicker.
basically as you make your way up this hill, Calafir doesn't even make it all the way to the Grand Hall. So if we look at this map here, I can go ahead and just like plop markers down on this map. I wish I got the elf characters that I have. So Aristor's house is actually right here. And so this is basically the Great Hall and everything. But as you make your way up, Calafir gets plopped up here, and at this point, Theodric is now at the stables, which is just right across. Kirian somewhere here, and Valinith, you are with Calafir, but you enter and you see Aristor is hard at work. He looks to be grinding something in a mortar and pestle, and it has kind of almost this kind of like a mint aroma that wafts out, and it greets your nostrils, and it kind of gives you like a little bit of energy. And you're holding Caliphyr as best as you can, as he's this big kind of human guy, as he lumbers up the steps towards this apothecary. And Eriador turns around and he says, "Ah, Valineth, I'm glad you returned."
Yes, we weren't gone for all that long. However, we are in need of your services.
He looks and he says, "I can see that."
Mhm.
He walks over and he grabs basically a chair and he props it up, and then he helps you put Caliphyr down, and he lets out a large like grunt, like ugh. And he looks up and he says, "I've needed this. It's a little bit more comfortable than a horse's saddle," as he kind of like makes himself comfortable, and he says, "The comforts of home." And he looks back up to you, Valineth, and he says, "Thank you. Man, I need a nap." And Eriador, he looks down and he says, "What I think you need is a little pick-me-up. You must have been through it." And he looks to Valineth, like almost like questioning, and there's kind of like a soft smile on his face as he goes over to his shelves and he begins to sort through some files. He grabs one and he takes it over and he says, "Do you have any wounds? Have you suffered anything?" And he begins kind of doing like his doctorly checkup, and there's no necessarily pain except for in his butt, for where he was riding the horse. And he says, "Well, it seems that you don't have any grave wounds that are affecting you. I do believe you are correct. You do need just that, is rest, and very good rest at that." And he grabs the jar that he has and he grinds it up into a drink, and he says, "Come to me once every day. You shall be sleeping probably 18 hours of the day. And within a few weeks, you should be able to heal. Just make sure that you are sleeping, and this will help you sleep." Essentially, he's given him some kind of like a sleeping poultice. Think of NyQuil, like it knocks you out.
So what I'm learning from here is that Caliphyr got the goods. Caliphyr gets to live every man's dream of just sleeping 18 hours a day, and then taking some medicine and eating and sleeping
and
some
eating
more.
and sleeping and all that good stuff.
God, I
That's pretty
wish.
I know, right?
And with that, Eriador has taken care of him to whatever degree he can.
Yeah. So the things that Valineth quickly wants to do, I'm just going to list them out. So as far as like his actions, the two things he wants to do for his actions is he wants to actually train with a broadsword. So he doesn't have proficiency. He has proficiency with long swords. However, his strength stat is 0. So that does nothing for him. Yeah, he's got a decent dexterity, but he doesn't have proficiency with the broadswords. So he wants to try to train with Estel as much as he can, as well as Glorfindel, as one of his actions. And then his second action is he wants to do more research on Mormog, specifically in terms of, I mean, I'm sure he knows a decent amount, but the plans, like any plans from Sauron's communication with Angmar up north and things like that in the past, and connections there, and, you know, like just kind of preparing for the journey ahead.
So I want one thing to kind of remind everybody on is those who do know the Lord of the Rings lore and everything, it's like, it seems like obvious, like the connections of, which is a great point that you pointed out, Dane, is sometimes it seems pretty obvious about like the connections of like what's happening, especially since we know the War of the Ring, which does happen later. I need everybody who's watching this to remember that that's not necessarily the case for the people that are within Middle-earth. For all that they know, up until very recently, with the banishing of the Necromancer, Sauron has been dead. Sauron's been slayed. Pretty much there's been a time of great peace down in Gondor specifically, and there is really no threats. And so the fact that Mormog is from the land of Mordor, that's something that is that's concerning. That like an evil creature from the lands of Mordor, like that place should not really have any activity or anything. And so this is, yeah, absolutely. You can go ahead and research about like any connections and stuff that are there, because again, that's something that's also not evident unless you're like kind of like a high scholar. If you remember in the Lord of the Rings, Gandalf didn't even know the information about the ring. He literally like held the ring in his hand. And he looked at it and he's just like, oh, it's just a magic ring, until he goes down to Gondor, to Minas Tirith, to study for like years about this ring to figure out like, oh crap, like this could be the One Ring, before he eventually returns. So I just want everybody to remember that that's kind of the world we're living in. This stuff isn't evident to people except for like very rarely the highest of the scholars. And so absolutely,
Pretty much maybe Saruman.
yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. Also, as far as like non-action, like small things, Valineth does want to talk with his mother. I'm assuming he's gonna be staying with his mother, so he does want to talk with his mother a little bit. He wants to present Lord Glorfindel his sword that we found, that we recovered, and he wants to if he does get proficiency with a broadsword, he wants to go shopping for a broadsword.
Okay.
So those are the things he wants to do.
100 and something years old and still living with your mother.
He loves his mom. He's been living on the road, and that's the one thing that's wonderful about elves and Rivendell is their homebodies. They know that there's nowhere else better to be than with their families, right? Right.
Exactly.
There's only so much space in the valley, you know? You got to condense.
True.
I am actually genuinely curious of what like the borders of like this feeling that you get, like the relief that you get, like if there's like a magical barrier that's around like Rivendell that you pass through the threshold and you feel it.
Yeah, you build your house on that threshold, and so half of the house you feel miserable, and then half of the house you feel
You
just
start
peachy.
eating the secret sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the storefront for like
It's the storefront.
I love it. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. So first things first, as you basically help draft those letters and everything, and by the end of the day, they are sent off to the various Dunedain. Theodric, with you, what are your plans for this fellowship?
Theodric right now, he is just taking his armor off, he's brushing down Barada. He is just de-stressing and relaxing. For now, he's going to be trying to recover from all the exhaustion of what's happened. After that, broadswords don't count. What do broadswords count as in?
They're rapiers. They're dex-based weapons.
So they're finesse weapons, or
They're finesse.
Yeah,
I think
martial
they
or
might be
simple?
versatile,
I think you're
They
right.
are versatile.
They're probably
but
more
they use
like
your dexterity.
meaning
for
you
it.
can do either.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll double
I
check.
don't think I'm proficient in broadswords. No, I've just got martial weapons and
Oh
simple
no, it
weapons.
says finesse.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
that
just
is something
one-handed
that-
sword.
That is something that, surprisingly enough, Theodric cannot help Valineth with.
It's all good. I
You'd
got
think that a sword is a
Glorfindel to
sword is
help
a
me.
sword, but see how it is.
One thing that you can do, Theodric, is also they do have a small riding grounds where you can work and train with Barad-dûr, and so you can additionally give Barad-dûr features if you are successful at that particular action. So I believe right now Barad-dûr has additionally on top, I think he has Surefoot. Is that correct?
I don't know, because he doesn't really have. Like, I've got his stat block, and that's about it. for
Well, I
Barada.
remember you trained with him back. I think it was in Esgaroth, way back in the day.
Yeah.
And I believe you got Surefoot.
I know I have something where he, like, Barada doesn't suffer movement penalties for things like snow.
Yeah. So that's exactly what he has. So he has
I-
Surefooted. I can actually write you a stat block for Barad-dûr that's inclusive of all of the things that if you do want to do this, I can add if you do get anything else from that.
That
But
would be
essentially
good.
the Sure-footed, so basically your mount is less likely to stumble or slip when riding across perilous terrain. And basically ruined roads and bridges. The mount is unaffected in difficult terrain and can maintain 40 miles a day across hard terrain. So The other things that you
Yeah.
can get is fiery. So the horse can appear unruly and overly spirited, but its restlessness becomes an advantage in the hands of the rider when battle is joined. The character riding the horse has disadvantage on all riding checks, but gains advantage on all attack rolls when they are instructed to charge. He has Night-Eyed, which is, it is said that the Night-Eyed horse can see the breeze in the dark and warn its rider of impending danger. A rider of this horse does not suffer disadvantage due to basically lighting conditions. Proud. So a proud horse is tall and clean-limbed and has a noble bearing. Whether it is walking or galloping, a rider of this horse has advantage on persuasion and tradition checks made while mounted. I believe that's the one that Feanor had with
Yes.
with Nim.
I think we might do some riding practice at night to get him night-eyed. Was that what it was called? Night-eyed?
There's a lot more if
Yeah.
you want to hear them, but
Sure, that's my go-to for now, but
perfect.
What
He has
else can we do?
strong, so a strong horse has a broad chest with thick and robust muscles and is well suited to charge enemies headlong. Add +2 to the damage bonus granted by the charge action. And then a sturdy horse is less likely to receive permanent harm when it is wounded in combat. When the horse takes a short rest, it adds double the Constitution modifier to the D10 for determining the number of hit points regained. And then Swift. A swift mount responds promptly to the reign of its rider's voice and commands, making it easier for them to control and make tasks and maneuvers. The speed increases by 5 feet. And then Tireless. A tireless horse needs only a few hours to recover from a full day's ride, thus making it easier for its rider to bear with the fatigue of a journey. The horse is not affected by exhaustion levels that modify its movement, so it can't be affected by exhaustion. And then Trample. This horse has been trained to attack downed foes. If the horse moves at least 20 feet straight towards a creature that it successfully strikes a creature with its hooves attack, the target must make a strength saving throw, DC equal to 10 plus the horse's strength modifier, or be knocked prone. If the target is knocked prone, then the horse may use its bonus action to make another hooves attack. So basically a second attack if it charges. So.
okay. I like that. What was that the strong one?
Strong, where
What
it
was
gets +2 to damage gained by the charge action.
Yes, that sounds good.
Cool. So when you get the opportunity after your first 2 weeks of rest, we can go ahead and train that, and when we get to that, we get to that.
Yes.
With
Perfect.
that, the group of you do eventually meet back up in the Great Hall of Rivendell, and at this point, you are greeted by not Elrond, but by Lindir, and you can see actually as Caliphyr joins you, his spirit is lifted a little bit, a little less weary. He's definitely longing for a bed, but he can have a conversation as Lindir arrives, and he says, Lord Elro here has informed me and his father of everything that had gone on. Feel free to stay as long as you like. We have many rooms that should at least be of comfort to you. And he leads you up to the upper floors of the main hall for those who need a place to sleep, which I believe is 3 of you. And he gives you all your specific rooms to be able to rest. So this is your opportunity to be able to do that. And with that, you can go ahead and get a long rest if you haven't taken it yet. Feel free to do that. Anything else?
Does Valinith see any sign of any elves that he recognizes, in particular Coranthiel,
Mhm.
or I forget her name, but the lady who we sent to Rivendell from that we found in the Troll Keep? What's her name? I forget her name. Her, that lady.
That's gonna bother me. Let me find her name.
Also, I don't know if this is happening to any of you guys. Every time I hit long rest, I just realized there's a box checked called reset maximum HP.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Every
do
time
that.
I've long rested, it's put me back down to my base HP of 27.
Yes.
Oh.
So the long rest function, I actually did know that. For Caliphyr, I've just been giving him, like, when he levels up, he gains like a certain amount of HP. I haven't been rolling for him. specifically for that reason. Basically, for the long rest, don't use the long rest function. I would recommend, I think the short rest function. Actually, if you click long rest, if you unclick the reset maximum HP during this rest, and then take a long rest, I think it should be okay. If that makes sense.
I've just been manually resetting everything because I
Or
know
you
that
can do
was
that.
an issue at first. Yeah.
Yes, that's
I
actually
think the way
a
I
good
set
point.
it up, it's not doing that, but I don't know how I did it.
Nice. Okay, so specifically, what was her name? Gondril.
Gondril. There we
Yes.
go.
So
Gondril.
specifically looking for Cranthiel or Gondril. I'm gonna have you, as you guys depart ways, as you look around specifically this main hall area. There are 3 specific places that you know that you've seen Cranthiel before. She likes to hang out in the Hall of Fire, which is kind of in this more westerly quarter of the building. And as you walk in there, I'm gonna have you make a investigation check for me.
Investigation. 15.
15. You look around, and it's kind of set up like a pseudo library, so it has kind of like this stacked kind of riser tier before it goes down into kind of like this central fire, and then on the easterly end of it, where there's this great wall, there's a bunch of bookshelves. You actually do find her amongst some of the bookshelves, and you see that she is reading something there.
So she hasn't left.
She hasn't
Interesting.
left.
All right. Valnith is going to not engage fully in conversation because right now we're going towards to talk to Elrond, but he's gonna say, "Oh, Cranthiel, good to see you're doing well," and gives her a wave.
It kind of
We need to
gives
catch
her a
up.
start, and she looks back and she says, well, welcome back, Valinith. Yes, I would love to catch up on your adventures." And she goes right back to reading as she waves and
There you go.
you depart.
But no Gondril.
Gondril, you do not see her anywhere within the main floor of the halls.
Cool. Sounds good. That's all.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump to, I'm going to give you guys the option. We can go ahead and finish off the rest of what you wanted to do here and then talk to Elrond, or talk to Elrond and then finish the rest of what you wanted to do.
I'm good with whatever you guys want. Anyone in a time crunch today?
FYI, the Elrond has been informed of generally what happened on the quest, but as far as like specifics of what you've encountered, he has not been informed of. So, during this time, you probably will see him and have small conversations, but it's not like an official like meeting with him until whenever you decide to have it.
The only other thing I wanted to do was have my armor that I received looked at and potentially restored to improve its quality.
Yeah, you would head over for that. You would have to head over down to this building that's over here, and the Elven Smith is named Damron.
Okay.
I'm surprised Eriador can't restore it.
Right. Yeah, I think that was the other main thing I wanted to do.
Okay.
So
You got one more you can do. You're as rested
Okay.
as you can.
3. Do I get 3?
You get 2.
Sorry.
What was-
So the
what was
first one,
one?
writing the letters, that doesn't really count as like a day activity. So it's like something that
Oh.
takes time to do.
Nice.
So you can think about it, and then maybe
Yeah.
wait till
Is
the end.
removing points of shadow?
You can remove points of shadow. That's one of them.
Then I might just do that.
Perfect.
Also, I have on here check up on Elf. I'm assuming the Elf
Gondril?
lady.
Yeah, Gondril
Gondril.
probably.
Did we already do that?
No.
Is that
We
on?
haven't seen her yet.
Valinith was looking for her, but he hasn't found her.
Okay. And then I have map from Broken Keep, but I think that was just like a remember we have that thing, less of a. So yeah, I will remove points of shadow and first thing first, armor. I'll just do the armor thing first. So
And Valinith, remember that you also have the ancient book that you got from the Broken Keep. Too.
Yes.
Oh right.
Yeah, he wanted to give that to Elrond. That was the thing that he was just gonna basically give directly to Elrond. So.
All right, and with that, the decision: speak to Elrond first, or do all of your other stuff.
What do you think, Dom? Do you want to do your stuff first before we get into it?
Yeah, actually.
Let's do it.
Just in case the conversation with Elrond drags on a little bit.
Perfect. With that, the first couple of weeks that you are here, you find quite comforting. As your first stop here was only a couple of days, but it feels almost as if time stands still here. Like you lose track of time as the more days you begin to sleep. Like the comforts of home are amazing, but this is like the life of luxury. Silk sheets, the linen smell better than anything that you have, doesn't smell like horse or anything like that. The breeze, the air, everything just is perfect temperature, very crisp and very relaxing, and you find your spirit immediately put at ease. Basically the conflicts of the world, from the Broadcleave, from everything you experienced in Eriador, or in a Wilderland, even back in your home, you kind of seem to forget it. And one of actually the features here is you actually haven't had any dreams or visions while you've been here. Your rest has been completely undisturbed and peaceful while you've been in Rivendell.
Okay.
And with that, if you want to go train your horse, feel free.
I would very much like to train Roderick.
Perfect. You make
I
your way.
cannot let him get fat and lazy.
Every day you go down to the stable and you ride him, and they lead you over to the corrals, and he seems to like it. It's decently spacious. You probably couldn't train like an entire army of horses here, but there are a few nice elven horses, and I'm gonna actually have you make a perception check for me.
Perception. Oh, 3. He was balancing on the nat 20 for a little bit, and then it rolled.
In the stables, you see that there are a number of horses, and each of them have names. They're all in Quenya, which are names that you can't really understand. You can kind of get a general gist knowing Sindarin, but they all look very nice and noble indeed. That is until you walk through out into the main circle. During these times, the elves have done a job of scheduling the entire riding arena to be just for you and Baradrock. And so you have a couple hours each day to be able to train him. And so specifically, you said you were training the strong ability?
Yes, the extra damage in charge.
Perfect. With this, you're putting your horse through a number of tests and a number of tasks. These are going to be from jumping to make the legs nice and firm, all the way to long endurance riding. So basically just around and around in a circle, basically until you can't go any longer. Additionally, you have practiced combat training as well, and so they have set up kind of target dummies for you to be able to practice fighting on top of your horse as well. And so he knows in the charge just how which side, so you can get kind of a better feel for which side is better for strikes, which are good times to be able to trample and things like that. I'm going to have you make an animal handling check, and then there's going to be an athletics check after, and you'll get bonuses depending on this animal handling check.
Okie dokie.
I believe in you.
I got a 17 for my animal handling.
Perfect. So this next athletics check, this is going to be, I'm going to have you make 2 separate ones. One is going to be from your character, and the other one is going to be made from Baradrock, and you are going to essentially just use, I don't know if he has an athletics score.
I think so.
So just a +3 because he's a courser. Okay. +3 for that. So a strength +3 check for him. And you are going to get a +4 to your roll, and Baradrock is going to get a +2 to his roll.
Okay, so this was athletics for me.
Yep.
+4. That is a 25 for my athletics roll.
Nice. Dang. Okay.
And you said strength for Baradrock?
Yep. So at a +5.
Give me a sec. I just need to check. I keep forgetting Baradrock's. He's got 16 strength, so +3.
Plus another 2.
17 + 5, so that'll be a 23.
This has been very, very fortuitous for you, as the training seems to, because you have been completely undisturbed and you've gotten the help that you needed when you can, Barad has gotten stronger. You can tell the terrain is very different from that you had experienced in Rohan, mostly flat hill country, and this has actually made him a much stronger horse. You can go ahead and add the strong trait to his character profile. I will make up a new character profile after this and send it to you, and so you can just have that with everything, including your 2 traits on there. So,
Excellent.
With that, that is your one action for your fellowship phase, which means we can move over to Cole and Dane, unless you guys want to now do the talk with Elrond and then do your guys' stuff at the end.
What are you thinking, Cole? I'm good with whatever.
I'm good either way. I mean, do you think our talk with Elrond would have anything to do with my armor and or?
Could. Potentially.
Right,
you could get like
then.
lore and stuff. Like you can like inquire, get lore and things from that.
Yeah.
So
We'll do that
do it.
first then.
And with that, a couple of weeks had passed here, and as I had mentioned, it kind of feels like one long, drawn-on day. And everyone's rested enough, including Caliphyr, to be able to meet. You have scheduled with Lord Elrond to have a meeting, particularly on the dawn of the 15th day, out on the back porch. This place where he tends to like to have his meetings. And as you gather kind of around in a circle, you all sit down, including the 2 dwarves, Anar and Ginar. They have been invited as well. They have been staying within the House of Elrond before being sent off. One of the things that you've had conversations with them while they are here, and many of the elves keep telling them you should just go to the Lonely Mountain. Don't worry about them. We'll leave it. Basically, they're not leaving Eriador until they find Ginar's father, Vidar. And they're actually planning on setting back to the west towards the Blue Mountains where they had come from. And so they will be leaving after this conversation back westward towards the Blue Mountains to give news to their lord and everything there. But in the meantime, they're here for this conversation of everything that they have experienced. And additionally, another person who is here is Gondril as well. She is also joined in on this meeting. And so Elrond, he stands up as everybody joins, and he says, "You have all done Rivendell and Middle-earth a great service. You have thrown yourselves into danger to uncover a secret plan that has been hatched from the shadows. Elro here, my son, he has informed me of some of the basics of what you had experienced at the Broadcleave and on your adventures in the Coldfells. I've sent out scouts to be able to scout that area, to keep an eye on the roads. It has been quiet. From what I can tell, your presence at the Broadcleave has not been discovered as of now, meaning we have some time to be able to prepare for what is to come. Tunnels, they take a while to dig, even with the expertise of dwarves," and he nods down to both Anar and Ginar. "I do think that if everything that this captain, Mormog, says is true, it'll be a couple of years before it's unfolded in its entirety." And he looks to Kyrian and he says, "I have seen that you have sent off letters to the many Dunedain communities. You seem to have beaten me to the punch. I was going to do just the same."
Well, we could both send letters. Can never over-communicate, you know.
He nods and he smiles and he says, "That is true. The roads aren't always safe, but the more that we can communicate, I do think that we can keep them at least safe for a time, particularly the Greenway." And he says, "I will be relying on you and your kin to continue doing what you do best. Keep watch over the wildlands of Eriador, and we will help in any way that we can." He
Wonderful.
looks over to Valineth as well, and he says, "So, you've been on many adventures thus far, and you have survived many dangerous tasks. What have you learned, Valineth?"
That's a loaded question, Lord Elrond. I feel like I've learned enough for 10 elven lifetimes in just the short experiences that I've learned here. I think the thing that I've learned the most, and he turns to his friends and says, I mean, no matter how strong you are, you don't get anywhere without reliable company and reliable friends. And he kind of gives a courteous bow to the rest of his kinsmen and says, but aside from that, I've learned quite a lot. Unfortunately, nothing about my father. If you've known any, heard any news from it, feel free to let me know at some points down the road. But especially with all that's going on up north, I'm not sure that he's safe either. And I know, turning to Ginar and Anar, he also says, and I know that they also are looking for Ginar's father as well. However, I think the thing that I've learned the most is how interconnected all the communities are here, not only in Eriador, but also, what's the place called that we just came from?
Wilderland.
Wilderland. but also Wilderland. And it seems that we really do need to unite as one if we're going to win this. However, and Valineth actually takes out of his backpack the book that Kyrian had found in the Broken Keep, and says, but it seems there's a lot that we haven't necessarily discovered either. As you can see, Kyrian is donning a new set of armor, and Theodric with his gloves, and it turns to the dwarves and the hammers that they have, and even this, and Valineth takes off of his back Glorfindel's sword that he found. But we all understand that these are weapons and uses in war, but it's old, and I haven't wanted to crack into it in fear of ruining it, but I feel like your hands are the most keen for them, and he hands it over. And basically, Valineth, without role-playing it, explains their escapade within the Broken Keep that hasn't been explained anyways, and how there's digging underground, how there is the Wildmen of Rudar are united under someone, and how they're working with the trolls and everything. You probably already knew that already. And then he also mentions the one door that the dwarves said don't open because there's death behind this as well. He mentions that because I was curious to him.
He expresses Actually, Valineth, I'm going to have you make an insight check for me.
Insight check.
As you
he uses
book,
webs
as you
of
hand
deceit
this
as well.
old book over to him, he reaches out and he grasps it.
That's a 12. Can I use my webs of deceit on him? So basically, I would roll another insight check for later on in the thing.
Sure.
It's every experience I can talk with people, so I might as well
Sure.
use it, right?
Webs of deceit. Go
Right.
ahead.
Well, that was a natural one for a 7. So I'm
Which
assuming that did not
strikes
pass.
me as strange because Valineth isn't exactly a deceitful person.
Well, no, I think where the deceit comes from. So when you're reading the skills, when you're reading the skills text, it's basically intuitively you intuit something so that you can
Use it.
impress them and use it against them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And gain some extra information. So by inciting, it's not actually doing that. And if you fail the insight, then obviously you can't gain anything from it. But it was a 7. So.
Fair enough.
You hint a sense of intrigue. This is actually a rare occurrence in the face of Elrond. He is a long-lived elf and is pretty all-knowing. The fact that when you hand this book over that you see kind of this glow of intrigue in his eye, you can tell that whatever is within here, it seems important. And if you remember, on the basically the spine of it, there was in Quenya written the rise and fall of Gondolin. And with that, he takes a look at it and he says, I will dig into this and see if I can uncover any secrets. This is, as you had mentioned, old, and he handles it very carefully. This seems to predate most bound texts here in Middle-earth. And he says, if I'm not mistaken, this is an original copy, an original account from the fall of Gondolin. And he takes it and he puts it, he says, this is valuable beyond just gold. This is valuable beyond just jewels. This is a wealth of knowledge that could add to our stores here in Rivendell.
Valnith laughs and says, huzzah to that.
And he smiles, and he looks over to Theodric. Theodric and Caliph here, both of them together, and he says, which brings men from the south that have come to the aid of those in Eriador. What have been your experiences in Eriador? How does it differ from where you come from? An outsider's perspective is always much welcome here.
Well, things are certainly feels a bit more remote out here, a little bit less wild, but more empty, if that makes sense.
Around, he nods. And what about the enemies? Sure, Rohan has many enemies, many wolves, orcs, those who serve a foul purpose. But here, is this your first time you're seeing trolls, Theodric?
Yes, it is my first time seeing trolls, and that, what was it, in Etten? And he just turns to Valineth.
Yes, Elrohir
Yes,
did tell me about that. The fact
I've
that you were
never
able
had to face anything like that.
The fact that you were able to get by without combat was quite smart indeed. Many elf lords of the past would struggle to hold one-to-one against it. And surely you are a group of well-trained individuals. And working together as a team, perhaps it was possible, but that is a threat beyond many great heroes in Middle-earth.
Yes. I don't think I'd never seen a troll before now, and I certainly didn't imagine seeing so many all at the same time.
He
It's
nods.
concerning.
It isn't concerning indeed. Trolls often are solitary. They very rarely unite under any guise of leadership. And he looks deeply kind of into your eyes, almost as if he is trying to intuit something from you. And he says, and what will you do about this? Will you run? Or will you stand and fight it?
Well, I feel like if we run now, they'll only gain more strength, so
He nods.
all that you really can do is fight.
He nods and he says, but Theodric, this is not your fight. You have already done such a great service to us here in Rivendell of alerting this to our attention. I wouldn't blame you if you wished to return to the lands of Rohan. Kind of an open-ended question.
As much as I would like to go home, leaving after seeing what I've seen, leaving all of you to deal with this, it wouldn't really sit right with me.
You have a
Also,
noble heart.
the idea of men allying themselves with orcs and trolls, it unsettles me greatly. And I feel like if good men look away from evil men doing these things, well, it doesn't really set a good precedent.
I'm going to have you make a traditions check for me.
I believe in you, Theodric. I believe in
You
you.
shouldn't have. I might use my heroic inspiration to re-roll that. Traditions.
Tradition.
Slightly better. I got a 9.
He looks to you
Tradition.
and he says, "It is okay, Theodric. Fear is something that riddles even the hearts of those who have lived on this here Middle Earth for centuries, for millennia. But I will remember this." And he smiles, and he looks over to Caliphyr, and Caliphyr, he says, "What troubles me most about all of this is that a creature, Mormog, from the Blacklands of Mordor, has made his way all the way up to Eriador, under the nose of Gondor. And he almost looks kind of like ashamed for this, and shakes his head, and he says, I, too, will not abandon. The lands of Mordor are under the watch of Gondor, and I will make sure that any leakage that has come from that dark place is snuffed out here in Eriador. Our problems shall not be your problems." And Elrond, he nods and he says, "A man of noble stock, I can see. Your expertise in battle and on the ocean, I think will..." And he laughs and he smiles and he says, "It will be appreciated in the battles to come, for there will be many," and he addresses everybody now. "Gondril has been here for, well, she's been a friend of that in Rivendell for quite some time. She has come from a great company. Many of my scouts are out in the wild, and she is descended from that. Will you continue to do your part in keeping Eriador safe, Gondril?" And Gondril, as you had seen her before, she was pretty beaten and world-weary from all of the torture and everything she had gone through from Rhine. She says, "Yes, but after a little bit more rest, Lord Elrond." And she nods, and he shakes his head, and he says, "I do not doubt the pain that you have gone through." Actually, Kyrian, I'm going to have you make an insight check for me.
Nice. 21.
One of the things
Blackjack.
that you know about Lord Elrond is particularly his relationship with his wife. So essentially, he had to send his wife back across the sea to basically, at the Grey Havens, get on a boat and send her back across the sea to the lands of Valinor, because she was kidnapped and captured, and it was because of Arohir and what was his name?
Eladon?
Eladon and Elrohir that went to go save her, but she had been left with a permanent scar, and you can tell that there is a deep understanding of what Elrond sees in Gondril as maybe it's not quite as severe, but a similar. And so he looks to her and he says, "Stay as long as you need. We'll see what we can do to be able to heal up some of what has been lost." This is something that also Valinith is probably understanding with, is once a high elf encounters shadow, it kind of sticks with them for...
Yeah, you can recover up to basically the max, except for you get a permanent one. So, yeah. So it sucks. It sucks. You could get up to the max number and you can heal it all, but you're still left with 1 point of shadow at the end of it.
Sad.
And Elrond continues and he says, From what I have heard, you have uncovered a map. Present it to me." And he speaks directly to everybody, not to anyone in particular.
I get out the map. If I have it, I actually don't know.
I think you do have it.
Yeah.
And he takes it, and this is a replica, like a recreation of what you remember
That's
from
right.
it. And he puts it down kind of on the central dais, and he invites all of you to stand up to come and look at it. as well. And so all of you do, and you make your way over to this dais. And as you're gathered round, we can actually pull up the map here.
Nice.
He sees that
Nice.
you have made X's on these locations. The North Downs, Cairn Doom, Mount Graham, and the Broadcleave. And he says, these are quite foul locations. As a Dunedain, I think you would be familiar with many of them. We tend to keep away from these places as they breed darkness and shadow. The Broadcleave, it seems that you have already seen and experienced it. And in this area, perhaps the greatest, and you can see there's a little sadness. The greatest loss that has come from that was the loss of prophecy, the loss of memory. It seems that their task here has already been complete. But what about these other locations? What is important about these other locations for them to create maps about it? It would be far too simple to just simply look and say that these are where the enemy is gathering, of course. But they seek the fall of the world of men and elves. What is it about these locations? And you can tell that he's thinking deep and hard about the potential, anything potentially that is here. Does anyone have anything to maybe add to it?
What were the locations again? It was Mount Graham,
Mount Graham, Cairn Doom, and the North Downs, and then also the Broadcleave where you had come from.
Valnith interjects and he says, "It was curious in the Broadcleave during Mormog's speech. There was a man there with some sort of mysterious power, and he broke it immediately. And as my companions and I were traveling into the cave, we saw Mormog not just rejoicing, but looking through and trying to find something. So it makes me wonder if in these locations there is something in particular, an item perchance that he's trying to look for."
Would I need a roll for Theodric to theorize about stuff, or would it just be?
Yeah, feel free.
No?
This is
Theodric would like to. Well, he's gonna interject and just say, the man standing with Mormog was using magic. It had that same eerie green glow that a man back in Wilderland I fought against, Voltaire, had when he used his own brand of magic. Is it possible that they're looking for artifacts of Angmar, sorry. Artifacts of Angmar, objects of power. Because I know Voltaire, he had a desiccated skull that gave him the ability of foresight and, I guess, mind reading to a lesser extent. It gave him a precognition that made him difficult to fight.
Elrond nods and he takes all of this in and he listens and he says, magic is absolutely something to be wary about here in Middle-earth, and it is something that you should tread with lightly. The Númenóreans were known for being able to contain magic, while not being able to wield it to a degree. The only things that really existed that would really constitute as magic were the Palantir. They could see from across vast distances. But this was a magic that was created in safety. There are many magics in this world that exist, and most all of them are rooted in evil. Perhaps, he thinks, the Númenóreans were meant for finding these objects of evil. Objects that are not easily destroyed. And so they would lock them away. Never to be found, never to be uncovered. Yes, Theodric, perhaps. There was something encased within this monument. Something of great power that maybe the enemy was looking for. Oh, yes. Yes. Trapped behind a sheer facade of Numenorian stonework that would cause much protection. You had also mentioned, and he turns back to Valineth, something about a vault beneath the keep. Something trapped inside a door, something dangerous. Perhaps that could be something similar. Something perhaps we can look into.
However, it seemed that at the point that we had escaped, that specific route had seemed untouched, as if it was undiscovered. However, as we escaped through it, I fear that we have maybe added to it. So, especially with how long we've been gone, who knows if they've broken into it. And Valineth is racking his head, and he's just like, but in the North Downs, I know kings of old were buried there. What specifically could he be looking for? And this is going to be kind of his subject of really trying to research this going into his phase.
He looks to Kyrian, and Kyrian, he says, the captain of Fornost may have something to say about that. I'm going to have you make a history check for me.
Woo! History. Oh, there it is. 10.
With that, you do know something about it. Not only is Fornost considered haunted by many because they claim to have seen many ghosts, but it is absolutely true that this is a place where there are many graves. It is essentially a fallen battlefield, so lots of graves and whatnot have been erected here as well. And there is absolutely a possibility that something of value could be buried beneath these barrows that exist with basically fallen lords and Numenorians of old. So it's potential, but it's hard to know. You can't think of any specific thing that like Gondor hasn't already taken with them back south that could be of like any use magic power-wise.
Yeah. I'll kind of relay that back. Now, my history is not perfect of the area, but I do know that most of the most powerful trinkets and whatnot have been taken back to Gondor. So I don't know what else would lie in these areas that they'd be searching for.
Yes, I myself haven't traveled to the Barrows, whether it's the Barrow Downs or the Northern Barrows, but I hear tales that they are places where the dead do walk, and that doesn't seem good. That doesn't seem like good magic. Speaking of which, and Valineth is thinking back to the back of his mind, and he recalls his experience seeing the ghost lady who's working for what's his name? Mormog. There we go. Yes, the ghost lady, and he relays all that to Elrond and says that we even have this. We haven't used it, but she seems sincere in us wanting to help her. What do you think of this situation?
There are many who bind themselves to contracts unknowingly. This Faradroon, which again, my son Elro here has relayed the information to me. It is curious. From what she is bound by seems to be a dark magic that cannot even be broken by powers such as myself. And he looks and he says, it seems that what is binding her, there must be a key somehow. And while I feel pity for her and her plight, she has also chosen her side. But mercy does exist. If it doesn't take you too far from your plans, perhaps we can free her and rid Eriador of Mormog. I don't think we can do one without the other.
'Tis true. And Valineth says, well, she entrusted this to us, and she said it's invisibility for a short amount of time that all of her kin were given at some point, and she's entrusted with us. So we'll keep on to it, and hopefully it'll be of some use to us. Obviously, it wasn't to her in her life.
He nods and he says, use it. It is a gift of the elves of old. Especially when you are in need, this is a very rare artifact to be able to find, to be able to come across. She must not be all gone if she is willing to give this to you. And he looks at the rest of you and he says, and something else has been pondering my mind. This prophecy. Those who know, the very last seer, at least recorded seer that has been here within all of Middle-earth, was a man by the name of Malbeth. He served under King Arvindui in the fall of Arnor. He was uncanny in his gifts. These gifts that oftentimes even were stronger than what I have. And he looks to you, Theodric, and he says, then he looks like he's going to say something, and then he holds his tongue, and he kind of gives you a small nod as he says, he was very skilled at controlling these powers. It's a mystery indeed, but why he felt the need to give this information and give it so publicly. I think many of the Dunedain look at this as a token of hope, but it's a destruction upon reading it over and over. It is very clear. It is evident of what this talks about. And it's not often the free peoples from all over Middle-earth gather in a place such as this. And he smiles, and he looks intensely at the four of you. There will be many battles to come. But to each of you, I believe that Providence has brought you here. Together, your destiny is not just to help Eriador, but to serve all of Middle-earth. A man from Gondor, Rohan. A man of the fallen Dunedain. And one of my kin of Rivendell. Yes. It is clear this prophecy speaks of you. Each of you.
Theodric kind of sighs a little.
He glances at you kind of out of the corner of his eye, and he says, this is perhaps not fair. There are many powerful people in Middle-earth, people that this prophecy could mean. But it seems to be you that this hope has been placed upon. Your shoulders must bear it. As he opens basically his own version and puts it down on top of the map of the prophecy, he looks to you and he says, what do you feel when reading this prophecy, Dunedain? And he looks to you, Kyrian, specifically.
I feel some hope. I feel responsibility. I feel unworthiness. To name a few.
I understand this. None of you asked to be put in the situation that you are in. But there's a greater power at work here. It is something you can walk away from. But it is the great heroes that accept these challenges. Adventures often tend to present themselves to people and stumble upon them when you're not looking. And it is in these moments that heroes are born. Heroes are made. You must be honest with each other. Do not hide what is within, your concerns, your fears, but also your joys. Unburden yourself, each of you, from that which ties you to your destiny, and embrace it. But who am I to say? I'm just the words of some old elf lord. And he turns around and he looks out into the great waterfall that falls off in the distance, and he says, there are many strong individuals here in Middle-earth, but I feel the most confidence in you four. That's right. One plagued by visions. He turns around and he looks to you. One of pure heart. And he looks to Calafir. And sturdy in will. And one who shall uncover the blade of heroes. I'm gonna have you make a wisdom skill check. Straight wisdom.
Am I gonna uncover Narsil? Whoa.
Has Narsil been lost at this point? I thought
8.
Elrond had it.
So your
Not a great roll.
immediate mind carrying goes to the shards of Narsil, which are in the possession of Elrond, and they are in one of the rooms. Kind of, it's not necessarily a secured room, but it's a pretty quiet room, and it has basically the murals of the essentially the War of the Last Alliance there, and it is a shattered blade with the that has not been reforged, essentially. As we know in the books, it doesn't get reforged. Actually, in the books, something interesting to note is in the books, it gets reforged and given to Aragorn as the first time he visits Rivendell, not way later, before the fight at Minas Tirith. But that's neither here nor there. It hasn't been reforged yet, but that's immediately where your mind goes to, as all of the Dunedain know that this blade is held here, and so that's immediately where your mind goes to. And then he says, and then one with age, wisdom, and skill, to be able to guide those off of the wrong paths and to right the wrongs of the future. Yes. This prophecy clearly speaks of all of you. So tell me, what do you plan to do now? What is your next course of action?
I think we must prepare for what is to come at the very least. I know, just looking at Calafir in particular, but the rest of us, I think we need a little bit of rest, especially if you say that it could take years. I don't think a little rest would hurt, and I think there's some information that can be discovered here as well. Valineth thinking about all the research ahead of him, so.
Calafir, he says, for the people of Gondor, and for my ancestors, I will do what I can to protect. But first, I must send word to home. They will be missing me and my companions. But I shall too rest, if there should be a long journey ahead.
These words Though not wholly unwelcome, give me much to ponder. So as we rest, I will prepare, do my best to fulfill that which has been asked of me.
And you, Theodore?
Well, I'm not entirely fond of prophecies and the like. This is by far the most promising I've received. So, it also I wouldn't feel good leaving you all in the lurch. So, I guess I'll get Broadrock ready and I'll prepare for whatever lies ahead.
And Elrond, he walks over to you, Theodric, and he says, I understand the burden that you go through. It must be tough on one so young as you to know only sadness and grief and dreams. I shall lend my hand into helping you discern that. And with that, you, Theodric, have unlocked the ability if to use an action during essentially a fellowship phase that you are spending here in Rivendell. You can use an action in order to map out your visions and map out your dreams. Essentially what that's going to look like is Elrond is going to help you discern, and it will give you context of events that are happening throughout, give you context to like what the dreams actually mean, and potentially give you hints to your future quests if you wish to undertake those. And like, because you've been receiving these dreams and they seem kind of like scattered and sporadic, Elrond is going to help you draw lines to create the map about how they line up and how they basically work. But you're gonna have to spend basically a fellowship phase action in order to do that little by little. And I'll create you kind of. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a star chart, like a dream, like kind of like, I don't know, what's the best way to explain it? Like a JRPG.
It's a JRPG.
Yeah, like skill unlock block. But like how they connect and whatnot. I can I'll write that up and give that.
Just the pin board with all the like threads
exactly,
tying
like
everything together.
Like whoosh, this connects here and here. Yeah, exactly. So you have unlocked the ability. He'll help you basically discern your dreams if you wish to do that in the meantime. But as of now, you've already spent your action, and so unfortunately, unless you want to spend another 2 weeks here, that'll be something that will be available.
Do later. Nice.
And Elrond, he looks specifically to you, Kyrian, and he says, what you wear upon your chest, this will make you stand out. This will deem you absolutely an enemy to those loyal to Angmar. You have a choice.
As I am.
You have a choice to wear it proudly, or to hide it. But no matter where you go, the enemy will always hunt you. They will not see, particularly the Witch King, will not see any remnants of the lost kingdom of Arnor come back into power again. And with that, you bear the hope of a people, but draw the ire of the enemy. You understand this, don't you?
Aye.
He nods. And now, I think you have some thinking to do, some resting to do. But let me know what your next plan is before you do depart. And if I can be of any assistance, any guidance to you, you know where to find me.
Of course. Thank you, Lord Elrond.
He gives you a nod and he says, and for now, this council is at an end. You may go about your business and enjoy what Imladris has to offer.
As this is happening, Valnith actually wants to go over to Gondrel and I kind of join her as she walks out of the hall. And actually, we'll walk over to Theodric as well and say, "The two of you, if you wouldn't mind, at least for the time being, would you mind joining me in a little excursion?"
Gondrel
Sure.
says, sure, why not?
Yes. And we walk to the Hall of Fire, and we're gonna look for Caranthiel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do so. I'm gonna have you make a investigation check for me. And actually, Theodric, you can do as well. If this is the intention and it's a stated intention, you can as well, Theodric.
Okay.
I don't know if he even remembers who that is.
I
Wow.
do.
9.
Though Theodric doesn't have entirely good memories of
Oh, don't
Caranthiel.
worry. There's a reason why Valda's bringing you. It's all good.
Investigation.
Man, I'm rolling horrible today. I don't think I've rolled above a 10.
Hey, finally, I got an 18.
There you go.
Actually, no, I rolled really well on my rolls with Barada Rock.
Really, really well, actually. Valineth, you are unable to find her. However, actually standing out on the porch outside of the Hall of Fire, Theodric does see a very familiar face. It is clearly an elf, but clearly distinct with bright red hair looking out into the distance. You have spotted her. She is technically in the Hall of Fire, but it's kind of weird the way that it's like set up. Is like on 3 sides of it, it's like open air kind of like area. But anyways, you see her.
Theodric just like nudges Valineth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Theodric. I was looking so hard. She was over here last time I saw her. Either way, I think we have some catching up to do as we walk over to Caranthiel, and Valineth says, Caranthiel, I come bearing guests."
She turns around and she says, "Oh, Valineth," and she sees both Gondrel and Theodric, and she nods politely to Gondrel. But as she looks at you, Theodric, she says, and she gives a kind of a shocked look and then a soft smile, and she says, "I'm glad that you're okay. How long do you plan on staying?"
Yes, I should be here a few weeks before we all head out again, I think.
Any news of Feanor?
Yeah, last I saw he was doing well. He's kind of acting as a go-between between Dale and Mirkwood and the Woodman, so he's kind of traveling and doing what he does best.
He's happy?
Last I saw, yes.
She kind of has a sense of relief all over, and she says, "Good. Happy to hear that."
And Valineth says, "Oh, yes, that Feanor, he's always out there wandering on to the next new thing. My real question is, how have you been enjoying Imladris this whole time? Have you feel like you've been healing yourself from your wounds?"
It's been a dream, to be honest, Valineth. Everything that I've ever wanted to know is right at my fingertips. It seems as if it's been... I know it's been over a year since I've been here, but it seems less than a day. I mean, you must understand living here and growing up, but...
She's young like Feanor, isn't she?
Yeah,
like
she's
100
very young,
something?
like 102 right now.
Okay. Right. Ah, yes, I do understand. In fact, I think I have some company that might be good for you to talk to. And he turns to, Valna turns to Gondrel and introduces and says, "This is Gondrel. She is of the company that takes people to and from the sea, as far as I remember. Right? Is that correct, Gondrel?"
She says, "Yes, that is correct."
Ah, yes. And what a kinswoman she is to us here in Rivendell. She has had in her life, she has known the sea and she has known the West itself. And I know that's not something you've ever seen yourself. I know you're young for an elf. But I don't know why. I just have a feeling that you two would get along really well and have lots of information to share with each other. And turning to Gondrel, he says, "Have you ever been out east into Mirkwood? Have you visited our kin in the Woodland Realm at all?"
Gondrel, she says, long time ago, yes. I've heard the place has grown dark of late, but I'm sure King Thranduil has everything under control. And you can see that at the mention of Thranduil, you can see that Cranthiel kind of like looks down, a little bit sad, but she says, "Speaking of which, I do eventually plan on making my return. I know I meant nothing to our Lord, which hopefully I can use that to my advantage. I've made a decision. I want to go back home. If they will have me."
Oh, yes. Well, I know at the very least, the elf lords, King Thranduil included, they respect each other. And I know with the pardon of Elrond, and he knows your heart and he knows your soul, I think that would go a long way with King Thranduil in welcoming you back. Even though you were on the run, I think it's time you move on. You know?
She nods and she says, "I was thinking about it myself, but there's so much of this world to explore. Once I'm back home, I do fear that the years will pass by, and I'll never get to be able to see Eriador or any of this western part of Middle-earth in the state that it is in right now. I sense there is a growing darkness, though it does seem far away."
And Valineth has been thinking of this question for a while as he sits there and he ponders. He actually looks to Gondrel for a second, and he also looks to Theodric. And he says, "So you've been here for a year, Crenthiel. What perturbs you? What perturbs you? What gives you anxiety for the future, moving forward? Or what can't you let go of from the past?"
I've never really had a place to call home. It's been some time, and the home that I once had, as Gondrel had mentioned, has fallen into shadow. I've given my trust into so many things, to so many people, only to be disappointed over and over again. But I have come to know here that I'm not the only one to experience this. There are many books, many tales of people who have gone through similar things, experienced heartbreak, experienced loss. And I don't know if it's just being here in Imladris, or if it's just coming to terms with the past that has helped me in the direction, that step forward to move on. It's difficult to quite put a finger on it, but I don't feel as afraid anymore.
I'm glad to hear that.
And she says, "And I have friends too. I was alone for so long. I was used for so long. But my friends, I know you'll be out there on many adventures. Adventures that I cannot join you on. But I cannot wait to hear your stories and read about you in books. Being an elf has its rewards."
Yeah, Valineth smiles and says, and puts a hand on her head and says, "For being such a young elf, you have a lot of wisdom in you. Yet at the same time, you have been through so much, and I know that's where you get your wisdom from." And again, he turns back to Gondrel and says, "Before you leave, Crenthiel, I want you to learn as much as you can from her. She's in a similar place as you, a place of healing, for she has also been through quite a lot. Maybe she can teach you about something as well. But My last question is, what is your plan for the future? You said you want to go back, but why do you want to go back?
I feel in my heart that it's right. I've done what I can here. I've learned so much from Eriador, from your mother. And I think my skills could be useful. Especially if there is a shadow encroaching on the woods to the south in Mirkwood. I want to be able to do my part to be able to help. So that many of those that I love, that will be my friends in the future, don't have to die. But I can give them hope. I can give them healing. I can give them rest and respite.
Can Valnith make an insight check on Theodric?
Sure.
It's so bad today. It's so bad. That's a 10. That's bad for me, by the way. I have a +6. So
Generally, Theodric, what are you kind of thinking? You don't have to go into too much detail.
Generally speaking, Theodric is neutral, vaguely, towards her. He doesn't feel any hard feelings because she didn't directly kill Jalen. You know, and she did patch you and Feanor up. But generally, she is a stranger to him, and he feels no particular attachment, no particular hatred. He's glad she's doing okay, but he doesn't really care. As callous as that sounds, he's glad she's doing okay, but he doesn't feel indebted to her or anything like that.
Yeah. As Valnith kind of looks at Theodric, and I'm assuming Valnith can kind of deduce this a little bit from how he's standing and how he's looking.
Yeah, a little bit.
And he turns to Theodric, and basically all he says is, everyone needs some healing. And everyone, I think, has a desire to not just move forward, but fight for what is good as well. You know, and I think Corinthial here, I'm glad you're doing just that. And he smiles and puts his hand on her shoulder and says, stay in touch. We'll be here for a little while until you leave at the very least. And Valnith just walks away. He doesn't wait for a response from Theodric or Gondril. He just walks back home. That's what he does.
Theodric is going to turn to Corinthial and say, I'm glad you're doing well. And if things don't work out for you in Mirkwood, maybe just hang around Dale and look for Feanor, because he could probably use a healer.
She smiles and says, sounds fun. Thank you.
Good luck.
I'm happy you're doing well as well. Good luck to
Thank you.
I think you're in very good hands. You keep good company, is what she says. And she turns to Gondril, and they begin to kind of have a small conversation between themselves as all that happens.
And
any things that you guys want to do before we move on to Kyrian and his blacksmithing?
Theodric is just going to be going back to his horse, and I have to go get ready for work.
Sounds perfect.
I'll
Thank
catch
you
you
so much
guys
for joining.
later. Good session,
Bye,
pal.
Australian. Have a good one.
Catch you guys.
Kyrian, as you part ways as you begin to walk down towards the smithy, these words of Elrond kind of linger in your mind about kind of the responsibility of wearing this. Not only are you showing yourself as like a sign to the people that you are a beacon of hope to them, but also you are a target of the shadow. Something that's not new to you. But your role seems to have started to shift slightly. Not only
Yeah.
are you no longer are you that only serves in the shadows and fights the enemy, but people look to you now. People not just of your own, but you have a greater weight and greater responsibility. That kind of weighs on you a little bit. And it's
Yeah.
something that you have to really deal with. And these are just the thoughts as you make your way down to the blacksmith.
All right. We'll go to the blacksmith.
When you arrive, you can see that he is hard at work. You've actually never met this gentleman before. You know of him. His skill is all nearly unmatched in just his years of experience, but also just his knowledge of just basically like ancient craftsmanship, stuff that has been long lost to many of the men of the world. And you enter through the threshold. None of these places really have doors. They're kind of just open air to everything. And you can see him hard at work. He's not grimy or musty at all. And actually, the typical blacksmith where you have like all this billowing smoke, it doesn't seem to exist. It's almost as if you're just walking into a nice, cozy, just like building with a nice hearth off kind of in the distance there. But you do see him hard at work, clanking away on what looks to be some kind of, probably working on arrowheads for arrows.
Cool. Do I know his name?
Yeah, you would know his name for sure. Like, as I mentioned, you probably haven't met him, but he is Damron.
Excuse me. Would he be Lord or no? Probably not.
Probably not. You could address him that way, but
Yes. Excuse me, Sir Dameron.
And he stops and he looks up from what he's doing and he sees you, Dunedain, walking into his blacksmith. And he wipes his hands and he says, "Ah, Dunedain, what can I do for you?"
Well, I came across this artifact of armor on my travels, and knowing the obvious historical importance and particular craftsmanship that it is, I can see that it needs some work to be fully restored, and I couldn't think of any better blacksmith in all of Middle-earth that I could have asked than you to potentially help me restore such a item so that I can be well protected and lead those against the shadow.
"Is that right?" And he begins to walk forward to examine the chest piece that you have on, and he examines you, and he reads you back in the eye. I'm gonna have you make an insight check for me.
10.
It's been centuries since I've seen something of this make. What is this? Luminorian. And he looks impressed and he stands back and he says, "Now where did a Dunedain like you go, uncovering something of such resplendent craftsmanship? You're no grave robber, are you?" And he kind of jokes, and he cracks a smile at you.
I wouldn't have made it far in the Hidden Valley if I were. No, I am Kyrian, son of Durafin of the Dunedain, and as we were sent out on an expedition, which all of Rivendell may find out about soon enough and all in due time, but I uncovered this at a broken keep, deep underneath in some tunnels guarded by a troll. I snuck by, saw the importance of what they were keeping there, and, well, I was quiet enough to get in and out without making too much of a fuss, and figured it was more my birthright and belonged in our hands rather than those of a troll.
May I? As he reaches out his hands to help you unbelt and take it off.
Please.
And he does so, and he takes it off very gently, skilled at what he's doing, knows exactly where all the belts and straps and whatnot are as he pulls essentially off this. It's almost like a tabard to a degree, but underneath it has a Numenorian chain that has been wound around. It's not quite mithril where it's silent, but it is very light and also makes very little noise. And he takes it and he holds it up out in front of him, and he says, "May I take a look at this?"
Yes.
He grabs like a small eyeglass and he lays it down on the table gently. And he begins to examine all of the seams, the embroidery out in the back, and he says, puts it back down, and he stands up and he says, "You've come across a very, very special piece. What you have uncovered here is something that has been lost to your people for some time. Not only is this a tabard of the wardens of Arnor, those who serve directly under Arvin Dewey, but this belonged to a very special individual. This belonged to Aranath, the first chieftain of the Dunedain. Before the fall of Arnor, when King Arvin Dewey fell, he was the last of the people of the Dunedain to lead them out of that desecrated place, to seek help from us here in Rivendell, to seek help from those in Gondor. When the king fell, he was the leader of their people. He passed in the wars to come. He was a brave warrior. His armor was lost, and it has been uncovered thanks to you. I want you to understand what you have here is not just a memory, but is the birthright of your people. I will see whatever secrets it hides. And I do think that only one of your stature can truly realize it and uncover its potential.
Thank you for your help in bringing it back to the glory of the Dunedain
Not at all.
and of Numenor.
It is my pleasure. If anything, this is perhaps one of the most exciting projects that I have worked on, at least for 50, 60, 70 years.
Well, maybe someday you can be the one to reforge that sword over there. But who knows
Time will
when
tell.
that time will come.
Willing, I will be alive when that happens. There's perks to being an elf. This is not the first time you've heard that saying while you are here.
Yes.
But he says, I'll continue to work on this. Come back in a couple weeks' time and I'll update you on the progress.
Thank you.
And with that, you're doing that. Valinith, what are you doing?
Here's my question.
Okay.
You ready to listen to it?
Ready?
Technically, Kyrian isn't actually doing anything while these 2 weeks are happening. It's this blacksmith who is. So I think he should get another action because, you know, he's not doing anything.
I think he can join you on whatever action you're doing.
Hey, that sounds good. Valinith will show him the city of Rivendell, even though he probably knows it real well at this point, like a tour guide, as they're traveling about. He does want to talk with his mother at some point, but I think what he actually really wants to do is go down to the training grounds and see if you can see either Estel there or the Glorfindel.
I'm gonna have you make a investigation check for me.
All right.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go turn off my heater. It's getting
Okay,
toasty.
not terrible. 18.
18. So you walk down to the training grounds, which are down yonder ways. You walk down to the training grounds, which are yonder ways, and you do not see Estel, but you do see a Glorfindel training with many of the Rivendell warriors. This is like kind of the main training part. You can see that the way that they move is swift and elegant. They aren't wearing their full regalia armor, but they seem to be practicing with elven training blades as they are down there.
As Valinith goes down there, he turns to Kyrian and says, "Ah, yes, this is where I learned to do all I can do on the battlefield. Not falling out of trees, that is." Making light jokes as they go down. And he's like, if we're lucky, we may even see Lord Glorfindel again. Ah, speaking of which, and points him out to him down there training. There he is.
Make a tradition check from Kyrian.
Ah, of course. Man, I'm rolling all 7s today. 12.
You know of Glorfindel. There isn't anybody who doesn't. Particularly, he is the hero in the battle of against the Witch King of Ingmar.
He recognizes him at least because he fought with him.
Yep, it is him and Eriador who basically destroyed the armies of the Witch King and all that. But as you look to him, you see that he is an elf lord in all of his glory. Almost as if he carries that all with him. And he meets your eyes, and he stops his training, and he approaches the two of you. And he says, "Well met. It's good to see you all in one piece."
Ah, yes. It is good to see you too, Lord Glorfindel. And Valinith gives a bow. I'm sure you remember Kyrian
Of course.
and our escapades out there on the battlefield together.
Of course,
I'll
I've
give
been
him
quite
a
impressed
nod.
with his combat style. Clearly, it served you well. He's looking
Dunedain.
very specifically at
Absolutely.
basically like the sword in your hand and then the elf dagger. The way you grip it seems like a warrior.
And Valinith chuckles and says, "Not only is he a warrior, but he is a super sleuth at that. In fact, he found this." And he takes out the sword from the back and hands it over. It's all wrapped in a cloth or whatever. He says, "From what I've heard, it seems like this is to come home," and hands it out to Lord Glorfindel.
Glorfindel hesitates for a moment and he says, "Oh, what is this?" And he begins to unwrap it, and immediately as the cloth falls with it in your hands, his eyes ponder it for a moment, and he looks at it with a bit of surprise and then back up into both of your eyes, and he says, "Welcome home, old friend." And he grabs it and he takes it, and this great sword comes out, this two-handed elven great sword, and he swings it around, and he says, "Now, where in all of Middle-earth did you come across this?"
As I said, Kyrian's a sleuth of sorts.
A troll horde, if you would believe it.
How pitiful, my friend, that you had to go and be lost in such a dank, dirty place. And he basically puts it and examines every inch of the blade. Fortunately, after a little bit of honing, you will be back to your former glory. And he basically swings it around and puts it back into his sheath, and he says, "I want you to understand just exactly what you have done. This is Thorondun. It has been my companion for many an age. I won't get into the specifics of it, but to be reunited after such a long time does my heart beat." basically, at this point, you can now include Glorfindel as a patron.
Nice.
What does that mean?
If you basically each individual person in your company can have one patron, like kind of like assigned to them, and what that does is they give you an extra buff, basically that you can use like passive buff in battle. Essentially, Glorfindel's patronage. Let me look it up real quick.
Nice.
Is there a place we can add this?
Unfortunately, not in D&D Beyond because it's
Okay,
not
I'll
a
add it in
thing
my
that
notes.
exists. Yeah, add it in notes.
I'll add it in my notes.
Rivendell Region Guide. Give me 1 second. I can tell you because popped up first thing. Elrond's patronage. If you get his patronage, between every long rest that you rest in Rivendell, you get 1 vial of Miragor. So that's cool. Yeah, it's really strong. You still haven't used yours, by the way.
I know. I'm saving it for a day.
How do you spell
day of meeting.
Glorfindel? Glorfind.
NDL.
Yes. Okay, so essentially, as he says that, he says, "Thank you to the both of you. You've done a great service. Hopefully he doesn't see much more bloodshed in the years to come. But I do feel better knowing that I have this companion by my side." And he pulls out of his pocket a small little stone, and he puts it into the hand of Kyrian.
Ah. Stone.
Says, "This is
Do I know what this stone is?
He says, "Not just any stone. This is Elisar, an elf stone." He smiles at you as you're just like looking at it.
Yes.
Would Valinith know?
Of course.
Yes.
I know
You
what
exactly
that
what this
is.
was.
But for my friend here,
Oh yes! Wow.
It looks like
Kyrian,
a green
maybe
gem.
you want to explain it.
Oh yes, and I will explain it.
Oh no, you're the one that needs the explaining to.
Essentially, so to give you guys a little bit of context, this is the stone in The Lord of the Rings that they find at the River Brunnen, where you know how like Glorfindel he saves Frodo and they're like riding back to Rivendell. This is the stone that actually Aragorn and company discover that like they're there, and this is actually where Aragorn gets his name, King Elisar, the Elf Stone. And so he, it's a very, very precious green. It's not quite a gemstone. It looks like a stone, but it has kind of almost like this like emerald green appearance to it. And it is known, and it is actually a stone created by the elves of Gondolin. And yeah, they're very legit. What they actually do in this game is once per adventure, so once per long rest, you can call upon the powers of the Elfstone, and you can fully heal all wounds and everything. So it's basically just like a power heal to one person, essentially.
That's pretty impressive. Every adventure
to one person. So basically, you can call upon the power of the Elfstone, and you
does this
get,
include
like, basically
status
full heal.
conditions?
Include status conditions, exhaustion, anything like that.
A quick question: is it only Kyrian who unlocked the patronage?
Yes, so Kyrian got the patronage for.
Oh,
wow.
Fine. I'm glad I brought you though.
Valinith, you have the patronage for Elrond. You get Miravors.
Oh, I didn't know I had his patronage.
Nice.
I thought he was just cool. All right, hold up. Elrond.
Remind me what the stone does.
Yep.
No, what's it called? I know what it does. Sorry. It's a full heal.
Elfstone or Elisar. Elessar.
Can I stack Miravor?
You can have multiple vials of them. Yeah.
Sweet. And I get them how often?
Once per adventure, essentially.
That
Glorfindel's is better.
You can't stack Glorfindels. So you don't get 2 charges of Elfstone. Basically, like you use it or lose it.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna read that again because I don't really remember what Miravor does. Let me see.
Wow, nice.
An exceptionally rare and precious cordial from Rivendell. Small quantities of Miravor may be gifted by Elrond or other powerful elves in Imladris in times of great need. It cannot be bought. A small mouthful recovers 1d4 levels of exhaustion and returns 1 hit dice. That's right. That's pretty good. So can I get 2 of them now?
You have 2 of them after this.
I'm
So
gonna add that so I don't forget them.
Sick.
Yep.
I'm glad I rated that.
Yeah, that's freaking nice.
It's basically you could have chosen to keep the sword for yourself, or you get patronage of Glorfindel. Essentially, is what it boils down to.
I think that's way better, especially because like healing in this game is difficult at best. So
Valinith, do you want to train? Is that why you've come down here?
Yeah, he's gonna say, hey, by the way, have you seen Estel around? I wanted to show him some new moves and perchance maybe learn some more.
Oh yes, you just missed him.
I wouldn't mind learning maybe some of your elvish speed.
With that, I'm gonna have the training go. So each of you can train. So specifically, Valinith, you are training in proficiency with
Broadsword.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And Kyrian, is there anything specifically you want to train proficiency?
It's mostly just flavor text for now having 2 attacks.
Sweet.
For the level up.
With that, he says, absolutely, feel free to join our training. And he leads you over to the group of elves that are there, and he says, are you familiar with this? And he basically hands over an elven's sparring sword to you, Kyrian. This is essentially a broadsword, but like an elven broadsword. Does the balance feel okay?
Does it?
It feels light. It doesn't feel like a typical like human
Feels
sword.
delicate.
It's anything but delicate. These swords are, sure, they might take a bit of getting used to, but they're what allows us to be able to fight in the style that we do. And you can see that they're fighting in kind of like this very fluid motion, almost kind of like it's not like strikes per se, but it's more of kind of like spinning and I don't even know. I don't know the best way to explain it. But
It's a dance.
it's basically
It's a dance on
yeah,
the battlefield.
essentially.
Nice.
But he gives one over to you, Valinith, and says, "I know you need some help with this, and
Oh, yes, I do.
put that bow away. We don't have any archers down here today." Let's see what the two of you
Oh,
can
and Valinith grabs it with 2 hands, like this, and he's like, you have met your match, Kyrian. And he goes like, ha! Swings at it.
I'm going to have the two of you. So this is essentially going to be a training for Valinith.
Right.
Kyrian, you are there to help him, so you get advantage on this Valinith, on this roll. Essentially, it is a dexterity skill check. And you have to pass a threshold of a 14 or higher.
Okay. Roll well. 14, first roll. I don't even need to roll again, but I'm gonna roll again just cause. Nice. 6 for the second one.
Perfect. As you're training, it takes you a little bit to get used to it. But Kyrian, as you begin to find a little bit of extra speed, almost as if you can have 2 strikes in the time that it took you before to do just 1.
Whoa.
You begin to basically spar and parry Valinith's blades, and this very kind of robust, rigorous training with Valinith having to block and also attack back at you really heightens the experience. It's kind of like making something under high pressure. You get more skilled at it. And so Valinith, you have gained proficiency with broadswords. I can go ahead and write that into your character sheet as well. I have to actually give you something to be able to give you that proficiency. So,
That's fine. That's all good.
Would it be
Um,
another action to see if I could purchase an elven blade?
Yeah, so these are training blades. As you've noticed. But yeah, if you go back to the blacksmith, it wouldn't require an action. It's just kind of shopping. So upon heading back.
Okay, Valneth needs to buy a blade too, so it's all good. We'll do it together. Speaking of which, yes, I feel like I have taken enough bruises to be proficient with this. And
yeah,
Valneth
this is,
holds
again
up his-
over a 2-week period. So like you've been coming down and like training rigorously.
and he's bruised and battered. Hopefully, he can train with Estel as well
Estel
occasionally.
does come down and meet, and Kyrian, as you actually spend a little bit more time with Estel, you find that he's quite strong for his age. You remember when you were that age, picking up a sword wasn't as much second nature to you. While you were doing training, it seems like he's got the skills of at least like a 25, 26-year-old, and he's like 10 years more than like what his age actually is. It's very impressive.
Nice.
And Valneth will pique his interest with wild stories of the North and of all of his experiences, and he's going to be like an old grandpa telling his war day stories to Estel the whole time, even if he wants to hear them or not. That's what he's doing.
Perfect. And last but
Yeah.
not least, before we do end for today, Valneth, are you going to do your studying of the
I am going to do my studying, and then I also want to purchase a new sword.
The purchase of the
I'm
swords
screwed.
will be the last thing that we do.
Cool. All right. Yep. Yeah, I need to study.
Okay.
I
so
need
you
to
make
study.
your way. So the first 2 weeks that you are here, you really did like dove into the lore of the books. You have the prophecy with you. You have everything that you've gathered, the map, all of this information, and you're just going through like all of the texts, all the libraries, particularly involving in the Fall of Arnor. I'm gonna have you make a history skill check for me.
14.
You're able to do so. Some of the things are difficult to find. A lot of it is shrouded in mystery, but you are able to make connections actually to people of the past, people that perhaps there's not like reincarnation in this world, but like the first incarnation of like those like heroes that are to rise again. So for the seer, in that time is Malbeth. So you find lots of connections to Malbeth.
Who's the seer in our party? That's what's his name? Theodric, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Get a quick document open. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Take your time.
Seer.
Wait, so like the heroes of old always had these roles?
Well, so it's basically like a reflection of like the wars in Ingmar before. It's like during the essentially the whole prophecy is like there was a great danger in Eriador, there was great danger in the Fall of Arnor, and these individuals helped to defeat the evil. There will be individuals that will come back, basically as almost kind of like a recapitulation of the of the old, essentially.
Okay. Nice.
Cool. All right. Next.
Perfect.
Seer.
So
Next
the
is-
seer is Malbeth.
Malbeth.
Seer.
Mhm.
It's pretty common, or pretty easy to find out, as he's the one who wrote this prophecy.
Mhm.
And then the lore keeper is the next one.
It's me.
This person seems to be actually related to Glorfindel.
Whoa.
Yes.
Is his name Glorfindel?
Glorfindel, exactly.
And as he trains and gets beat up, he's gonna ask him all kinds of questions once he finds this out. Who is this guy? What is he doing? What is his name? Do we
Yeah,
have his
dude,
name?
that's sick. You can just like, who needs a library when you
the
got
the relative of Glorfindel.
The relative of
We have an. You said are related to
Oh,
Glorfindel.
Valneth.
Huh? What? Huh?
Valneth is.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm the lore keeper, and I'm Valineth.
Mhm.
And then who was the person who had it in the past?
Glorfindel.
Oh! Oh! There you go. I thought you said it was someone who was related to Glorfindel.
No,
Yeah.
no. Like, it is Glorfindel.
Ooh, I am Glorfindel.
Basically carrying ancient knowledge of past wars and past conflict into.
I'll pick his brain.
Well, I've
That's
got
right.
his.
Well,
patronage.
you know.
So,
The next one is the commander, essentially, and this is related to the King of Gondor, Erenir, who had a special hatred for the Witch King, but also sailed his ships northward in aid of Arnor upon its fall to unite with the armies of Rivendell and Glorfindel to defeat the Witch King.
different than the guy who had my armor, or the same guy?
No, that was Erenarth.
Yep. See how those.
Erenir.
Yeah.
And that's
Erenir is considered the last king of Gondor, actually. So he was the last person before there were stewards in Gondor.
Wait, was he after Elendil? Or sorry, not
Yeah, after.
Isildur?
So the Wars of the Witch King happened hundreds of years after the. So essentially after the Battle of the Last Alliance, Isildur, who was like the king of Gondor, he was like
He got shot up by orcs.
he got shot up, but he had children essentially.
Oh.
So there were like Isildur's heir. So there's like a lineage of
Yes.
people. But technically, the last king of Gondor was Erenir. Back, I don't remember exactly the year, but it was like hundreds of years after the War of the Last Alliance. It was after the fall of Arnor in the third.
What did he
How
do?
how sad is it that Isildur slapped Sauron, cut his finger off, and then he just gets taken out by a drive-by?
I know.
Sucks. It happens when you're unawares of it, right? But
It's like
Erenir,
what happens when you're texting and driving, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Erenir,
Don't
you
let
actually
these
read.
pressures get
You
you.
read about him that he had a particular hatred for the Witch King of Angmar. His job as the last king of Gondor, he didn't know it obviously at the time, was to watch the Blacklands of Mordor, particularly Minas Morgul, which used to be a Gondorian city, but it was taken over by basically the evil, the Ring-Wraiths and whatnot. And the Witch King of Angmar was the chief among them, and he rose to power in his kingdom in Angmar to the north. And so when basically Arnor called for aid, he was like, "Heck yeah, I'm coming for aid." And there's actually a legend where like he alone had a standoff against the Witch King, yeah, he's pretty sick.
Do you want to hear a fun fact I actually learned today randomly? So in the Two Towers, it's not referring to Orthanc and Barad-dûr. It's referring to Orthanc and Minas Morgul.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? I didn't realize.
Oh, the
that.
two towers?
Yeah, it's not referring to Barad-dûr, where the Eye of Sauron is. It's referring to Minas Morgul.
Oh.
I know.
Wait,
isn't that weird?
what? Why?
I know. Isn't that weird? Well, in the books, they talk about it, like when Frodo and Sam meet Faramir in the wild down there.
Yeah.
They go really in depth into it, and in the books, we get it confused because in the movies, when they go to Shelob's lair, that's the Return of the King, but that's the end of the Two Towers, and so they're going by more in Minas Morgul on the way up there. And, yeah, isn't that weird? Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah.
And the last one is the hero, which is related to Erenarth, which is...
You're a hero, Kyrian.
Wow.
And who's that related to? Erenarth?
Erenarth.
One of the things that you are able
Basically like
specifically
Mark,
to divulge about this individual is he survived after the years of the war, but he
You have my sword.
Dying in his service in the wild. And as mentioned, his armor was lost to history, but his sword had been recovered and it was kept somewhere safe. And rumor has it in one of the books, this looks to be almost a diary entry, but off the coasts of the Grey Havens, his sword remains.
I think we know what sword the Kyrian recover. And thank you for the follow, Eric. Hope you're doing well.
And with that, we're gonna go ahead and go buy some stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
also, I'm trying to do the shadow, remove shadow. I don't know how that
Yes.
works.
Yes,
That's
remove
my
shadow.
second action.
Yes.
I just do it.
So basically, what you would do is you make a wisdom saving throw.
Nice.
And based off of the results, you always remove shadow, but based off the result, it depends on how much shadow you remove.
Nice.
So you
Do I
can't fail
get
this, but
advantage?
uh,
Because I have advantage
Skill
on
checks against shadow, right?
it's
shadow
against
check.
gaining shadow, but recovering from shadow, it's a different thing.
All right, that's fair. Saving throw. Cool. Why? 8.
You recover 3 points of shadow,
Ooh,
That's pretty-
nice. I'll take it.
and yeah, that's what Caleb here will also be doing with his action, is recovering from
Nice. I'm back to 0. Feels good, Valineth.
shadow. 19.
Shush. Shush.
Oh, all right, Caleb here.
Yeah, he's back. He rested fully. He no longer is affected by it. He only has.
Guys, I feel kind of like an imposter
Why?
wearing this armor.
No. You're a commander of the Dunedain.
Worthy. That's true. I guess it's not like I'm wearing Aragorn's outfit from Return of the King, right?
No,
The-
definitely not.
The Strider.
Yeah, you're not wearing like a king's armor. You're wearing
Yeah.
like the chieftain of the Dunedain, which they were like kind of like the new like leadership when like the king died.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's
like
not
the steward of Gondor, but
Yeah.
for the Dunedain.
Exactly. Like it
Nice.
technically, it probably is like belongs to like Estel, but like he also is like a descendant of like the king, so like the king armor is like better fit for him.
Yeah, exactly, Estel. Gosh.
Yeah, he gets a
Stop
sweet
being so
sword.
selfish.
But Valnith is going to take that into account, though, learning about this sword and taking into the words that Elrond had said to them in the previous meeting that they had, and be like, I wonder if this is what he's referring to, and we'll share it with the group when he gets the opportunity.
Perfect. You make your
Wow.
way. So
There's a
but
sword.
after your training one of these days, Valinith and Kyrian, you both make your way over to the blacksmith in order to inquire about potential purchasing of items. And with that, this is the one of the final days as what's his bucket? Damron gives you back the chest piece, and he says, "This is quite an impressive piece." But he looks at Valinith and says, "I've never seen you here before. What are you doing here, Valinith?"
Well, I've been training with good Sir Kyrian here, and I think I am ready for my first weapon of steel. And he says this as if it's quite an accomplishment, and he's very proud of himself.
Make a performance check for me. I feel like
Performance.
everything that he says is a performance check.
Yeah, well, Oh, pretty good. 16.
He looks at you and he says,
Yeah.
"You do seem thicker." if
And he
that
goes like
makes
this.
sense."
Do you see this muscle?
I do. Well, what kind of weapon are you looking for? And you look upon basically the shelves and you see all kinds of, specifically they train in making like 3 things weapon-wise. Spears, swords, and so there's basically 2 kinds of spears. There's regular spears and then great spears. They have swords and great swords, and then they have shields and great shields.
Well, I've been training with the elvish training swords down yonder. I need something light, something with some dexterity to it.
And he goes over to the shelf and he pulls out one of the broadswords that he has, elvish broadswords, and he puts it down onto the table. And it definitely has like the similar kind of like curvature design of like an elven blade. It has like a kind of
Is it like Arwen's blade from the films?
similar? It has like a kind of like a gold handle, and it has a kind of like a reddish brown hand wrap that goes all the way up it, and then it has basically like a silver curvature on the blade.
Cool. But quick question. I know it's considered a rapier in Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
This can't be wielded two-handed, can it? It's just a one-handed
It's just a
sword.
one-handed sword.
Cool. All right. Oh, yes, that looks to be what I'm looking for. And he picks it up and he examines it. What kind of sword is it? Just a basic
Yeah,
sword?
it's a basic broadsword, so it'd be an elven broadsword, which essentially
Okay.
what you get from that is you get a +1 to hit. So it's essentially a +1 sword, but it doesn't have the +1 damage.
Cool. Why? This is quite fine make. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. Haha, as he says. And
That is, if you
This
have
is
the
like-
coin to be able to cover it. This
oh,
work doesn't
yes.
come for free.
What is the damage on something such as this?
This took some time to be able to craft, but it is not my finest work. I would say 90 silver pieces.
Oh! Wait. First and foremost, not your best work, and you're charging that much. I am appalled that you would be upcharging a friend, especially one who's friends with this Dunedain here. And he first to give me. I couldn't buy it if it was any more than 24 silver pieces.
He laughs and he just scoffs. He's like, that is insulting.
It might be insulting, but that's what I have. I'm sure Lord Elrond can make it right with you. I need a new weapon.
He laughs and he just says, you understand this work doesn't come for free, does it?
That's what I'm saying. Lord Elrond will make it right with you.
Will he? Make a persuasion check for me at disadvantage.
Okay, that's not terrible. Okay, hold up. It's my second roll. Don't be worse than that, because that's not horrible. It could have been a natural 20, but a 9.
9. He looks to you and he says, the cheapest that I could do is 70.
I understand that. Will you be here if I come back with
I am
this
always well
with the money
supplied
for
and
this?
well stocked.
I need to stop home and ask my mother for some money.
Nice.
He laughs and he's just same old Balmouth.
But I appreciate the discount, my friend.
And with that, he looks
What
over
is-
to you, Kyrian, and he hands back the armor, and he says, as I had thought, this is a very, very impressive piece.
Yes.
And
Is that full? That's your full thought. Great.
no, there's much more. There's much more to that.
Oh. Well, say your mind, elf friend.
Spent 2 weeks to be like, this is
It's
impressive.
nice.
He forgot to check in on it. He's like, oh, crud. I was supposed to do that.
He tells you something that it doesn't actually do. No, he gives it back over, and he says, "This is." Hold on, let me go ahead and I need to remember exactly what it does. So, armor allows the wearer to add their full dexterity bonus to their armor class. Restore this item to prove its quality. Yes. Okay. He looks to it and he says, "I've done some repairs on it. It didn't need much, but I've been able to, I think, make it so that it fits just right. You can go ahead and add, it adds +2 to your armor class.
Oh my gosh. What are you, 20? 19?
19. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're so thick.
Yes,
I'm gonna have
it
to go
feels
in there
good.
and actually physically change the armor to give you that quality. But
Okay.
+2 to your
I'll
armor
just
class.
add +2 additional miscellaneous bonus. Cool. It's at 19 now. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate all of your help. What do I owe you for the trouble?
Nothing at all. It's my pleasure.
And Valineth just looks at him.
He didn't
Like-
purchase this from me, Valineth.
Yo,
Like
All
you
I,
put
all I
wood-
needed to do was make a couple of repairs on it. That's it.
I've always been great friends to the Dunedain. We thank you greatly.
I thank you for the challenge.
Of course.
What does Valineth's mother say when he goes and asks for?
It depends. How are you approaching this?
Yeah.
You make your way home. Oh, welcome home, sweetie. As she's cleaning,
Mom,
she's
I need
wiping
to
some
buy a
dishes.
sword.
Oh, yes, Mother, I am home after a long, arduous day at the training ground with Kyrian.
How did that go, sweetie?
I am absolutely pooped. But what use are these skills if I can't use them? Oh, and he just sits down in a chair by the fire. Like this.
She comes over, she brings some hot tea, and she's like, whatever could you mean? You've been using them every single day. You've been working so hard.
I have been, Mother, and what am I to come of it? I go to the blacksmith, you see, looking to purchase a new item. I am a hero of Middle-earth, that is, and what am I told? I don't have the money to purchase even it's not even his best sword. And he just said no.
Make a performance check.
You know what's so funny? He's so dramatic, but he's got a +0 to performance. Oh my gosh, that's a 7.
She goes, there. Well, what did you offer him?
I have 24 silver pieces to my name, and I've had that since my adventures in Wilderland. I haven't spent a dime of it, and I haven't collected any of it anymore. I am just a poor elf.
How much was he charging?
He was charging originally 90, but then for some pity for me, he dropped it to 70, but I couldn't even afford that.
She looks to you and she doesn't really quite know what to make, and she's like, doesn't your adventures make you any money?
Apparently not. He looks into his pouch and sees he has 24 silver and 3 copper.
Nice.
Well, did you ask, Elrond sent you on your mission, did you ask him for any payment of any kind?
That's what I said to him. I said that Elrond will make it good, but he didn't believe me.
This is nice.
I don't know why you're talking to me. You should go talk to Lord Elrond.
Mother, could I borrow some money?
She shakes her head, and she's like, you never change. And she goes over to her, basically, to her room, and she grabs what looks to be a wallet. She gives you another 20 silver, and she says,
Oh,
that's all I can give you for now. If Lord Elrond can make up the difference for the rest of it, then you should be all set to go.
Thank you, Mother.
Why don't you sell some of these, like herbs and potions and stuff that you're able to make?
Because I need them, Mother. You don't understand what it's like being an adventurer out there in the world with no one there to hold your hand. Oh.
You should do 2 birds with 1 stone. Look for herbs. That way you can use the ones you've already made, and then when you come back, make them and sell them at market.
My mother, that makes too much sense. Why would I do such a thing when I'm out there on my escapades with my friends?
She shakes her head. And is like, you need to grow up, Valineth. You need to grow up.
You always say that, Mother. I am composed, and I am an elf of wisdom. I have been doing so much work, yet at the same time I feel like I'm still naive to the world. I need
Where
to.
did I go
need
wrong?
To...
You said you're an elf of wisdom, but you need to be better with your finances, Valineth.
I
You
told
can't
you,
go
Mother. I've
wasting
had
all of your money on swords. Just because you picked up a new hobby, you're spending all of your money on this new hobby.
Well, what do you think I should do? Should I go and pick up a stick from the woods? I don't think that's gonna smack a Mormog on the head. I
don't know
need
what a
something that will-
Mormog is, but you have a bow that your father left you. What's wrong with
And-
that?
Nothing is wrong with it, Mother. But what happens if I get into a sticky situation where I can't maneuver it?
You have a dagger.
This dinky thing?
Yes, that dinky thing. I'm pretty sure you could kill someone with that dinky thing.
Mom, look at my muscles. Do you think I could kill someone with these muscles?
No, but with a sharp blade like that, you could.
My mother, you just don't understand. Stick to what you know. Oh, and he walks out of the house.
Toys. And she goes and she continues finishing what she's doing in the kitchen. Go talk
He'll
to
go to
Elrond.
Lord Elrond. He'll go to Elrond and he'll knock on his door and say, Lord Elrond, it is I, Valineth, son of Morbeth. May I come in?
Yes, of course. Feel free to come in. And you can tell that he's sitting. He's enjoying some tea at his table, and he seems to be reading over the ancient book. He's giving you half his attention.
Have you learned anything nice from the text that we gave you?
Learned quite a bit, actually. Much forgotten history seems to have been imprinted here in this book. But that's a topic for another time. What can I help you with, Valineth?
Well, Lord Elrond, you and your infinite kindness and your infinite mercy, yes, you have sent us off on a quest. And he's gonna go, Valineth is gonna, without role-playing it too much, is gonna get on his high horse in his old tales, talking of old poetry about wars that have been and wars that are currently going on. And I, Valineth, have found myself in the middle of it, charged by you, my lord, and there is nothing more that I want than to serve you properly.
Performance or persuasion? It's up to you.
Oh my gosh. I have a +0 in both. So, performance. I'm gonna use my inspiration. That was a 3, by the way. I thought it was pretty good. I'm just rolling like 7. I'm so bad today.
You sound like my sons. But yes, who am I to deny you what you've owed? You've done us a great favor.
Oh, well, I, in your infinite mercy and your infinite wisdom, know that I have been training hard with Kyrian, and I've been training hard with Estel and Lord Glorfindel, and I feel like I've come a long way with the blade. However, I do not have a blade to wield in such occasions. I went to the blacksmith, and it seems that I am desolate poor, and I am unable to use these new skills I acquired to help save Middle-earth.
So you need money.
Without a blade. Or a blade of sorts to be able to put it to task.
Come with me, Val.
I'm not...
He stands up, he closes the book, he puts it in like a case, and puts it on his shelf, and he walks down to the blacksmith with you.
He says, Valineth comes in and says, Huzzah, I have brought Lord Elrond. As I said, I am an elf of my word.
Damron, he gives Lord Elrond a bow, and he says, My lord, what can I do for you today? Do you need any honing of your blade? And Elrond says, No. I'm here for Valineth on his behalf. Apparently, he cannot afford what you have to offer. Damron says, That is correct. I even reduced my prices to 70. I took 20 silver pieces off. And Elrond nods and he says, Can you afford 70?
But alas, I borrowed 20 silver from my mother, and with that, it comes to 44 silver. Oh, woe is me.
This is a waste of my time, Valineth. And he pulls out of his pocket 50 silver and he puts it in your hand. And he says, Come to me if you need something actually important.
But Lord Elrond? This is important.
This is important, I understand, but you find
I know,
anything
I'm
else,
sorry.
just let me know. And he leaves.
I apologize. Well, Sir Damrod, it seems we have come to an agreement. 70 silver pieces for your finest blade.
He takes the
And he
same
winks.
sword off of the. He takes the same sword off of the wall, and he's like, "You can't afford my finest, but here,
Oh.
enjoy it. It's a good blade either way."
Do you mind if I look at your finest for a second? I just want to look at it.
He goes into the back and he pulls out a sword. It looks relatively the same, but it has what looks to be kind of like elven etching on the blade as well.
Okay.
And he says, "Now this is made out of mithril.
Mhm.
You can't afford this, Valerie."
Clearly. But here's my question, though. When I get into the heat of battle, will my blade glow blue like my comrades?
It will not, no.
Ah, how unfortunate. However, I will make a name for this blade. I will call it. And he thinks to himself real hard. I'll have to think about that. However, I will make this blade legendary. And he holds it to the sky.
Well, just remember who made it if it becomes legendary. And when you discover a name for it, come back and I'll etch it into your blade if you want.
Oh, that is so kind. How much will that cost?
Free of charge. For friends.
I knew I could count on you, Damrod, and he gives him a good old slap on the shoulder. Here I come, world. And he goes out the door with his new sword.
That we're gonna end for today.
Does the sword have any bonus?
Just the plus
I mean-
1 to the hit.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It
Nice.
tackles. So
Alright.
no additions to the damage, but plus 1 to the damage.
Yeah, I can't afford one. Does the nice mithril one do anything extra?
Yeah, it's a plus 3 weapon.
Woo! How
Ooh,
much?
We gotta save for that.
How much? Yeah, I can picture Kyrian on the side. He's just like, I like that one. How much?
Yeah.
How
Ooh,
much?
that's
Oh, man.
nice.
I could get you a couple dwarven hammers.
3,000 silver.
Oh,
Wow. How much for a couple dwarven hammers?
Which technically is
priceless book.
it's technically, because it's elven made, it's a plus 4 attack, plus 3 damage blade.
oh my gosh.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
3,000 silver, so you know what to save up for.
We'll come across-
How much for that book that we gave Elra?
Yeah, right. That's actually what I was gonna say, but then I'm like,
Priceless.
you know what? Like, you said this was
Are you
priceless.
interested in books? How about a trade?
I'll say, you know, Elrond, we gave you a priceless artifact here. And you are the Lord of Rivendell, right? And we are your warriors that you're setting out forth. You want us to have the finest. I didn't go there though because he's my patron. I didn't want that to get revoked.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I can't afford that, so I have 46 silver.
Ooh. Why are we so poor? How come we don't get any treasure?
Well, I'm a Dunedain, so that makes sense.
Well, Valinith hasn't spent any money, and he doesn't get any money.
You haven't done any
Well, that's because
jobs.
we
That's
haven't
something-
discovered.
Yeah, that's something you could do. You could actually sell the stuff you collect. You could, while you're on your adventures, you could like rummage around and try to find herbs. You could like
But can I tell you
find
something
treasure.
about that?
Take treasure. Grab the gold.
When you're on a quest and being whisked away into nature, and being whisked away onto a impressive adventure with your newfound friends, the last thing you think about is making money. You want
Unless you're
the
Jess.
wind at your back. Yeah, seriously. You want the wind at your back and sail set forth for glory is what you want. You're not thinking about picking herbs on the side.
Just become friends with Bilbo.
Yeah, right.
It's got all the
Yeah,
money.
We'll travel to the Shire.
Speaking
Yeah.
of which, if you guys do you have thoughts about your next adventure, your next journey? That's gonna be
I think
next
we're going
session.
to the
So
Shire.
the beginning of the next session will be you're coming together with Elrond, telling him what your plan is and what to do. So in the meantime, I want you guys like over chat to think about it, to talk about it.
Yeah.
With whatever information that you've gotten from here, you can do whatever as you want.
I mean,
As
Mount Graham seems like a good place to to go.
That place sounds scary though.
I know.
It's cold up there too.
Or we could go find my sword.
Which would be
Yeah, we got to go to the
that would
coast.
take you to the Grey Havens.
Yeah, which would be quite a ways away.
We got
but
years.
But the difference is you're making your way not through the wilderness, but on the Greenway, and so potentially stopping by like Weathertop, Bree, through the Shire. All the way
Maybe we
through,
could
so-
become friends.
Could hit
with
up Bilbo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'd be like,
Bilbo
oh,
can be unlocked as a patron.
ooh,
Nice.
and what does he do? What does he do as patron?
He
Every
gives
time
you
visit
money.
him, he gives you
is
money.
a money bags, actually. Yeah, he gives you like you start basically.
Nice.
You have to take your rest in the Shire, like your fellowship phase,
Okay.
and then he basically gives you like money to go off on your adventure.
Are you sure we wouldn't be chased out by the hobbits there? Be like,
FYI,
what are
you
the
can
big
only have
folk
one
doing?
patron at a time. You can't just
Yeah.
I know.
accumulate patrons. But
And Elrond's sick. You know, I'm not gonna use my Mirror. I'm gonna hoard it, and then when I have like 30 of them, then I'm gonna
Sell
tell Elrond, I'm like, you were cool and you were kind of useful, but you didn't get me the mithril sword. So you know, Bilbo.
Bilbo will get me a mithril sword.
Bilbo is now financing our adventures. So, yeah.
Ooh, I love it.
Anyways,
Thoughts on today's session? We'll start with Dane. I'm listening. I need to go use the restroom real quick though. But thoughts on today's
Yep.
session?
I mean, it was good. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people out there who are just like, oh, it's not exciting doing these little vacation phases. But when you've been on an adventure for as long as we've been on adventure for what, 12 sessions at this point? No, 16 sessions, 15 sessions, technically before this session. And you're out there in the wild, like the thing that comes to the back of your mind, it's like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I could do this, or I'm learning all this information. I want to actually do something with it. And I think these phases, these relaxing phases, are actually kind of nice because they allow you to restock on things, which I like doing. You can get new stuff to help you in your adventure, and I mean, just too, it's good learning about the task at hand and where to go forth from here. Because yes, we've been gathering all this information, but now we're actually have the Council of Elrond and actually being able to kind of put that into work. And I feel like we know a lot more than we previously did on where we need to go. The time frame and timeline that we have as far as things go, I think is really smart with Kyrian sending out the letters and the information to the Dunedain, which will hopefully make it so we have a little bit longer to be able to do that. And who knows, it might even give us a opportunity to actually go out west a little bit more and explore a little bit more of those areas like the Grey Havens and the Shire and things like this before it really hits the fan, you know? I don't know. A lot to think about, but I really liked today's session. I liked the comedic hijinks. It's always a good time.
Valineth asking money from his mom.
No, you know.
That's good.
Sometimes you just have to. He has that resource with him. When in my adventure have I ever been able to just be like, "Mom, I need money." Now is when. Yeah, man. I don't want the Toshiba handy pan. I don't want it.
I was just thinking the whole time. It's like, why don't you use it? We've got that at home.
Got what? A sword?
Yeah, we got the sword at home. It's like the whole like, I want to go get pizza. Well, we've got pizza at home, honey.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want that.
But that sword's not as cool looking.
Yeah.
That sword wasn't made by Durafin. That sword was made by just some random lackey. Anyways, I thought it was a good session. I enjoyed it.
Perfect. Cole, your thoughts on today's session before we conclude?
Yeah. Sorry, I started off kind of tired and out of it because I came like straight from work.
Okay.
But once I got food in me, and
The energy
I woke
came.
up a little bit. Yeah, no, it was a good session. I enjoyed Elrond kind of elaborating on the prophecy. I thought it was cool how like we all have those roles and that those roles like link to the past. That was pretty nifty. I didn't know that. And maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention.
No,
and
that
maybe
wasn't
it
mentioned.
mentions it. Okay,
Nope,
cool.
nope, it didn't.
Um,
That was cool.
That's what the research
Yeah.
is for. Like the
Yeah.
specific research action actually gives you insight on the task at hand.
Cool.
So
Yeah, the sword. That's cool. Sounds like I might get a cool sword that I may or may not be able to wield.
Valineth will trade you for it if it's a broadsword, though.
Okay. Well, I use broadswords, but
Oh,
yeah,
well.
if it's a long sword, I might be out of luck. So,
Valineth can technically use long swords. He just gets
Yeah.
real bad bonuses.
but it only says that I'll find it, right? It doesn't mean I'll use it. Calipir can use it. It's fine.
it's true. He can. He uses a long sword.
Yeah.
So does Theodric too. He uses a long sword too.
How does
Yeah.
that make sense? How does Valineth? How is he able to use long swords?
Because
I
he's an elf.
think it's probably something within the D&D.
Yeah, I think it's.
Well,
an
it
elf.
says
beyond.
it's because it's high elf of Rivendell is the reason I can
Yeah.
use it. I can use lances, longbows, longswords, short swords, and simple weapons,
There you go.
but not dexterous weapons. Not.
Well, short swords are technically dexterous.
I guess so, but it's not rapier.
Yeah, that's true.
Why broadswords? Why is it a
I don't know
broadsword
what to tell
specific?
ya. I think those are supposed to be
I
like
know.
maybe like Mirkwood elf or something.
Yeah.
There
Who
you go.
knows?
I mean, anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're so that was really cool and interesting. Finding out that my armor was worn by the chief,
Aranarth.
Aranarth, not to be confused with Aranurth.
Aranir.
Aranur. Yeah. Aranur. Very different.
I guess it's not Aranir. It's like Aranir.
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 Aranir. Not
It's like
Aaron
the mix
Yarth.
between Aerith and Marth.
Yeah, I know. I just think Marth, and that's how I get
Yeah.
Aaron Arth. He's the Marth of the West. But anyway, no. So it was good. My AC is now at a 19, which is
Bigger
it's
than
nice.
mine. Bigger than
Yeah.
the game.
Everyone,
about that.
technically,
Feel good about that.
everyone.
I could still die, cause But what's his bucket? Calipir. He can just raise his at will.
That's true. Once per day.
So he's got that going for him, which is nice. But yeah, no, it was good. It was a good sesh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little out of it at the beginning, but
It's okay.
You
Fellowship
good?
Otherwise-
phases are like Dane had mentioned. They're kind of just like those things where it's like you gather all the information from your previous quests, and then sometimes you get your fellowship phase where it's like it's very obvious, like what to do next. Like let's do this now.
Yeah.
Or like now, this is like especially because this is the beginning of Adventure 2. Whatever you guys decide for that adventure, because there's like a couple different routes that you can go, and the enemies or whatever get balanced based off of that. But depending on like what route you decide to go, that actually does make a difference on what actually ends up happening, like in Eriador, per se.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm very excited to see that, and like more than anything, kind of like the open-endedness between Adventure 1 and like the rest of it. Like it's like I feel like it gives you more, like say in how the adventure unfolds, as opposed to just being guided along a path. Like, oh, you can go this way. Like lots of options have been presented. It's up to you guys to determine what to do with that.
yeah.
Wait, does Elvish broadsword in the notes? The
No,
inventory?
I'll get it. I'll add it to your because I don't know if it's
We could sell the Rohirrim gear.
Yeah, right.
sneak
Sell
into
the helmet.
Theodric's-
Like we don't need that. He can't use it
Yeah.
anyway.
Can't use it, so it's useless to us.
the
Might as well give us
helmet of
3,000
Haleth-
silver for it.
Haleth, who is the son of Helm Hammerhand, and then the gauntlets of Hama, who is also the son of Helm Hammerhand.
Yeah. So we should sell them to Elrond for 3,000 silver.
Or we should sell them to Rohan for 3,000 silver.
Or you
I-
should sell them to the
that'd be a-
Dunlendings.
I don't think we have.
Oh, they would pay a pretty price and desecrate them.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Desecrate them.
I don't think we have Middle Earth eBay.
Yes.
So I don't know
Put it on
how
the
we
line.
would sell it
Courier
to the
system,
road
right?
hero.
A Dunedain courier system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send a advertisement to the road hero.
Hey,
We have
this has been
uncovered
found.
For only
mysterious
3,000
Rohan regalia.
silver.
If you have any inquiries or desire to
3,000
purchase
silver
it,
or best offer.
Or best offer. Oh man.
it doesn't include the gauntlets as those are currently in use, but you may have the helmets.
It's probably fake.
Slightly used.
Old.
Dried
Old
blood.
blood.
Artifact
blood.
status. You know you want it. Worth
It's perfect for the museum.
priceless.
Yeah, the Dunlending Museum.
Yeah.
Oh,
But anyways,
God.
guys,
That'd be
I think
good.
that's gonna do it for today. Dane, do you have anything to add before we do officially close down for the day?
Couple quick things. So there's a couple ways to be able to support Fantasy Forge Studios. The first thing is with what's it called? Dice Snacky, our advertiser. Well, Dice Snacky, yeah. So they're a Japanese sweets and luxury treats company based in Tokyo, Japan. Feel free if you decide to purchase from them, mention that Forge sent you, or you came from Christ Forge or our YouTube, one of our YouTube channels, or anything regarding Forge, and they'll know what that means. And then once we hit a certain referral limit, then we actually give away boxes for free. We've already given away 2 boxes on the channel to 2 amazing followers. And then we've also they do free international shipping, which is really cool. So by supporting them, you not only support a small family business based in Tokyo, Japan, but you also support Fantasy Forge Studios. We have the game Everlast coming up on Friday. So this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have our original tabletop RPG created by Kyle named Everlast. And it's awesome. It's really fun. We've been having a great time with it, and it is hopefully coming to Kickstarter in the next in the future.
Dane,
so there's
is
some
the
ways
previous episode up on YouTube?
there is downloaded, but is not. It is uploaded to YouTube, but it is not up on YouTube. It's. I still got some. I got to write the descriptions and the titles and things like that. But it's technically. Thanks for the reminder, though. It is up, but not visible. Anyways,
Just so Cole knows what happens at the end.
yes, and I will
Yeah.
get that up. I will get that up tomorrow. So you can check back tomorrow, and you can see what's happening. Anyways, though. Everlast is really cool. And so if you want to support the game before it comes out, we have a couple ways to do that. And that is with Coffee of the Realm and Candle or Fragrances of the Realm. Both of those are amazing coffee and amazing scents. Different fragrances that are candles that have the official artwork of Everlast on it, which is really cool. So not only are you getting delicious coffee and delicious smelling candles, but all proceeds go towards the creation of the art of Everlast. And with that art, we've actually been able to create a brand new trading card game, which will be coming to Kickstarter in March. So look forward to that. It's called the Everlast trading card game. Everlast trading card game. But it's really cool. You'll get to know all of the heroes of the northwest kingdom of Helix and all the surrounding areas, as well as all the big baddies. With the 2 sets that will be coming out, Heroes of the West and the Raising of Helix. One's centered on the good guys and one's centered on the bad guys. It's got a very unique battle system, one that's very reminiscent of the actual battle system in the tabletop RPG, and you get to know the characters and develop some of your favorites. And so when the actual tabletop RPG comes out, you'll know who they are, which is kind of cool. So that's coming out again to Kickstarter in March. Kyle, I don't know if you have an ad ready for it, but you can play that.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
We'll play that then. There you go.
So that's pretty cool. Sorry, wrong overlay. Oh, there we go. Hey, so that's pretty cool.
Everlast.
Yeah. we do have that coming up here.
Yeah, on Friday.
Yeah, Friday,
As
but-
far as other streams for the week, we do have Twin Blades of Eorzea, our co-op stream that we do every week that we have Everlast the day before, where Kyle and I will be playing some Final Fantasy 14 together. It's kind of designed to like be a relaxing stream. It's designed more for like the chat aspect, kind of like how Coalforge Great Axe is, while still progressing through the story of Final Fantasy 14, which is kind of cool. We're behind. We haven't done any of the newest release. And so we're probably going to still be doing dungeons at this point because I got to level my character up a bit. But we will continue with the story of that, hopefully in later sessions. And then, Cole, on Sunday, are you guys doing Coalforge Great Axe?
Yeah, we are.
Nice. What are you playing?
We are playing It Takes Two.
It Takes Two to make everything all right?
Yeah.
It takes two to make it out of sight.
Building castles in the sky.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun co-op game that you can apparently play distance.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Like
Yeah,
online
and what Max
together.
said too is like you can see both screens as opposed to just one
Yes.
person who's streaming it. So
Correct.
that's cool.
And both of you don't have to purchase said game.
Oh,
Yes.
Even better.
So if y'all are like, wow, this looks like a fun game, and I have a friend who lives across the country, you too could enjoy playing while watching us play it.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Now I'm excited for that. That should be good. I know that's a very popular game these days. So come join Cole and Max at Coalforge Great Axe for the shenanigans that will be ensuing, which will be nice. So, I mean, aside from that, I don't think I have any other specific announcements. Next Monday, we'll be continuing on with the Bible study. We had our very first Bible study yesterday in stream where we talked about Mary and the Rosary. Next week's topic is going to be diving more into the Bible, in particular on the 7 sorrows of Mary. And we're going to be going over all the Bible passages in which they show the 7 sorrows of Mary, which is pretty cool. So come join us for that. You should learn a lot. And and continue to pray for us as we pray for you here at Fantasy Forge Studios.
and speaking of prayers, let's go ahead and all close together in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Jesus, my Savior and Redeemer, Son of the living God, behold, we kneel before you and offer you our reparation. We would make amends for all the blasphemies uttered against your holy name, for all the injuries done to you in the Blessed Sacrament, for all the irreverence shown towards your Immaculate Virgin Mother, for all the slanders spoken against your spouse, the Holy Catholic Church. O Jesus, who has said, if you ask the Father anything in my name, he will give it to you. We pray and beseech you for all our brethren who are in danger of sin. Shield them from every temptation to fall away from the true faith. Save those who are even now standing on the brink of the abyss. To all of them, give light and knowledge of the truth, courage and strength for the conflict with evil, perseverance in faith and active charity. For this do we pray, most merciful Jesus, in your name unto God the Father, with whom you live and reign in the unity of the Holy Spirit, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless you all. And with that, I'll be praying for you, pray for each other, and know that it's going to be a great rest of the week. Truly, it's going to be awesome. I'll see you guys on Friday for some Twin Blades, and until then, you guys have a good one. Bye.